Hey everybody, and hey Panic. By the way, I shared this like 1 minute before we went live this time. It's always so weird knowing like when do we share it. Like if it's too early, then we'll care. Like if it's too early, if we share it too late, then like we have all this intro that literally no one's around for. So like it's always like confusing. But hey Panic, and hey everybody.
I was like,
Uh,
panic beat us here.
yeah, exactly. Um, it's been another week. I want to say another week, but it's only been 1 week because we only did this one time before. So um, I updated my display name a little bit. I put the little bipolar symbol in there. It's this cute little. Um, I'm typing it out here. I don't know why it's taking so long. I don't know why I always have to look up what that is, but it looks like that. Because if you look at it the one way, it's this frowny face, and the other way, it's a happy face, and that's basically what bipolar is. Um, it's been a week. I've walked for like 2.5 hours to try to get over stuff. Um, I had like 6 hours of clarity in the middle there where I made some stuff that we'll go over here in a little bit. But I guess, Angel, how have you been?
um, just staying busy with everything, honestly. Like, I feel like by the time I have all the chores and stuff to take care of, I am not getting to the other things I need to. So it's just doing one thing and thinking I need to be doing another all week.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel
you don't
that.
know where to focus your energy.
Definitely understandable. But we've been keeping up with the minis in July. That's been nice. Like last year, I think I did like 6 of them in the last week or something like that because I was so far behind. So
Yeah, normally I have mine posted too, and I didn't get the one posted yet. So I'm technically 3 days behind on posting that.
well, I haven't posted mine either, so I figure you're also waiting on me. I'm gonna do. Well, we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Okay.
Um, I guess actually that'd be the first thing because your first angel worked on is that. So you can go ahead and start that off.
Yeah, the only thing that I really got to work on this week, besides taking notes for some other things, so it'll set me up for, it being a little bit easier to do the other ones because I know a direction. I was really stuck on this before and after one. I don't know why. Sometimes prompts don't like resonate with me, and that one just kind of was a big doorstop, and I don't know why. Because I feel like I really wanted to go photography with that, but like I would have had to have taken before pictures of something to have after ones. So
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking, hey, I'll get out and take a walk and I'll take pictures during the day and then at night, and there's like before and after, like what they look like. Or I thought of several different ideas. And what I ended up settling on is a little thing I do is I kind of compartmentalize, you know, um, past me, present me, and future me. And I sometimes try to make it a little easier on myself in the future by doing the thing that I didn't want to do. It's just like, okay, just get it done. You know, uh, Instead of putting it off and it having to loom over my head, uh, you know, past me didn't want to do it, present me doesn't want to do it, future me isn't going to want to do it either. So if present me does it, at least I can at the end say thanks, past me. So I always try to have this thing where I can always thank past me so that I can be like, hey, look, I did a thing, I got that done, and I didn't have to deal with that later. So the zine is called Thanks Past Me and talks about how you can set yourself up to make it a little easier for you, because you're really never going to want to do the thing. So if you get it done, at least a version of you can be happy about it later,
Yes.
because you're present you in the future too. It's just you know
Yeah, I actually there was some chatter in the server a little bit like a week or two ago. I don't know, time doesn't like anything. Um, about I forget if it was the Daily Stoic or something like that, where they're talking about how basically like you're a different person every time you wake up. So when you go to bed, that's the last time that you like that you exist, and so like what you did in that day basically sets up future you, but it's also picking up from where past you was, just like you're saying. And
yeah.
and come up with an idea for games that I haven't done yet, but
Oh,
um,
interesting.
I really like that idea of like like at least if it feels so much easier for us to help other people than ourselves a lot of times, and so even if that other person is another us, like that's something. Panic says, I do the bad version where I'm like, that's a future me problem. And yeah,
I actually covered that in my zine, and I said, that like sometimes I get the sarcastic thanks past me, because I didn't quite set myself up like I needed to. But I mean, there are healthy versions of that where, like you have to know that the present version of you isn't up to it, and maybe you will be later. So you
yeah,
have to make that call of, okay, I didn't want to do this. That's a tomorrow problem.
yeah. I actually read once, and I don't think I agree with it, but I did read it that if you look at the past and you're like, if I would have done this or that, when you do that, you're actually completely wrong all the time because you did the best that you could at the time, basically. Like because
Yeah, the
those
hindsight's 2020 type thing.
circumstances, if you go back in time, would still be there. You might still have your bad headache. You might still feel really tired. You might, just not care, in that
Right, and you're
moment.
not the same person.
Right, exactly. I guess that makes it my turn. The first thing I did was actually a thing called Recipe for Success. I did it on our Discord server voice channel. There's a voice channel in there. I use it sometimes to just like be productive, like just the idea that somebody might join kind of makes it to where like, yeah, I'll focus or whatever, like
And Panic came and hung out with us, so that was cool.
yeah, Panic helped too. But it's basically there's this like I actually named Panic in the game too. On this first card it says by Beth Jackson with help from Angelique Drummond and Panic Blizzard. But there's basically it's sets of cards.
You need to
Um,
share the screen if you're going to.
I am I not?
No.
I am on my screen.
Oh, okay. I'll refresh this and see what's
Okay.
up.
Yes, Panic says I joined to make it less productive. That's fair too.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I guess I needed to refresh my screen.
But I will actually open the file too because it's a little easier to see that way. I ended up doing the best thing and just made it as big as humanly possible. Um, there's a page here that kind of explains how the pages work, and then there's 12 pages that are printable. It's basically the rules with 3 cards, one in each color. There's the rules with 3 black and white ones, so like lower ink too. And then there's all 4 colors, including black and white. There's all black and white. And then you have the set, the rules with the 3 different colors here, or just the like 4 of the same color. So like basically the idea of this thing is that you are being accountable to friends or even to yourself. And over the months you're looking at these cards and oops, and then over the months you're basically writing in these things. Like this is they're all themed on culinary stuff. So order up is like your last month. Stocking your pantry is what kind of prep you did for this month. Mise en place is your habits for success. You've got urgent tasks under high heat and then big projects and goals under simmering. A lot of these ideas came from Angel and Panic. So that's a big part of where the thank you comes from. And actually, I think Angel was the one that chose this specific card that I edited. If you'll notice, and I hate saying this because I know you should never point out negative things or something, but if you notice here, I can't zoom in. If you notice here, there's this little tiny break in the line right there on the top and on the bottom. It's very slightly noticeable. I fixed that as much as humanly possible. That took me a good like half an hour, and then like making those pages took another half an hour or so. It's currently running a sale. It's up to 18, which surprises me. I think it'd be like $1 or $2 right now. But if it hits the $65 goal, then this game will be free forever. And it's in a bundle too. It's called the Kitchen Calls, but there's like 10 things in it. So like you get all this for $1 if you buy the bundle. But I try to give everything a possibility of being free forever, and I'll just base that on like how much time I put into it. So like this was like 2.5 hours, so like $25 an hour, $65, whatever. Trying to embrace the fact that I have value. So like that's more than I would normally charge, but like that's what I did there. That was my first thing. And then Angel, it's your turn again.
Okay. I also worked on gathering information for a couple of the zines that I'm going to be working on later. The next mini zine July 2024 prompt is fanzine. I have a few different directions I could go with that, but I think what I'm going to do is just kind kind of link different people that I'm a fan of, just and have it be a theme of, creatives like that I follow and like. There's a lot on Instagram, there's a lot on itch.io, there's a lot on YouTube. So I just didn't know if I might do like a top 10 list, or like, bullet points of several people that they should check out. Kind of like a playlist of different types of content creators or um, artists and stuff, TTRPGs makers. I'm still kind of a little up in the air about it, but I have a lot of links for different people like zine makers and TTRPG people and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of really awesome people in the community. Like, it'd be really easy to come up with a bunch of lists of like really awesome systems and creators and like that, for sure.
So I think people should check out other people like that, like, and also as much as you can say, hey, I really like these people. You should check them out.
Yeah, I agree. There's actually, when I was promoting our free RPG Day bundle, I came across somebody who like invited me to their subreddit, and they do a monthly, or I think it's monthly, maybe weekly. I don't know. I forgot all about it ever since that. But they do like a book club and talk about it together on the Reddit. And I'd love to do that here too. Like somewhere weeks, whatever, like maybe like the second week of the month or something, like do like let's all talk about this RPG or whatever. And like a lot of them are really small, like you do a page or whatever. In fact, I think next week or this week the one-page RPG jam starts, and that's really big in the RPG community.
Munchie's so excited about that.
Awesome. I know Aaron in our server has been already preparing to release a couple things for it too.
Awesome. I want to try a new SRD for that, like do a one-page SRD. I haven't done that enough. It's something that was a goal last year, to check out more SRDs and be a little bit more experimental. And seeing some people doing that, a lot of that in our Discord, has really kind of inspired me to want to get into that a little bit more too.
That's cool. Yeah. And yeah, Panic actually just said he had a brain blast and he's going to put it in the Discord server. So
I love the little idea corner that you made there. Like, everybody posts their little, scraps of an idea to come back to later and really start creating things.
I absolutely stole that from Zoe. Zoe has the same thing in its server, Night Playing server. And I think I had like 30 something ideas over there. I had to copy over to our server. But like, yeah, I really like that, where like it enables you to have a space where you feel safe to explore it, but also there's the possibility of other people checking it out and maybe commenting about it. And then once you join one of those channels, like you actually get notified whenever something new is posted there. So like if people don't care, like, you're not taking up space in the main channel, and you feel safe to just post whatever there, and it's easy to get to because mostly it's just you typing there anyway. But
right, I like posting exactly. Sorry. I like posting my ideas in there because people come by and are inspired by it, or like kind of give me a general direction when it's like, hey, I have this idea, but it's only a piece of an idea. And they're like, hey, I've seen this SRD and it would fit really great with that. And it's not something I had heard of. So it really helps me go a certain direction. So I really like that it helps build upon different people's, like draw on people's experiences a little bit more. Like we all have experienced different things, and so we bring that to the table for each other.
Yeah, I like that too. Mr. Them in our server, Aaron, is really good about taking like an SRD or 2 or 3 SRDs and just like combining them into something cool. It's really nice to see that. And I'm learning about a lot of them too, because I've looked at a bunch of them, but there's still a lot of them I don't know about. My next thing is that I made this zine called This Costume of Mine. It is for the Queer Halloween bundle, because I don't really have much Halloween content, and so calling my transgenderism costume is the closest I can really come to it. But this is an 8-page zine for Minis in July. This is my before and after. And it's basically before and after, discovering who I am. But I was gonna make it all about being transgender, but like, especially with me spiraling this week, I think like I don't have much dysphoria. I don't have much, like I'm fine with my voice. I don't care if I don't shave for a month, whatever. Like it is what it is. Like I'm fine with that. But what does really irritate me is the bipolar. Like I will lose entire weeks of my life to just like I don't care about anything anymore. I like whatever. So I threw that in there too. And this is just an 8-page zine about like basically being visible, but also hiding a lot of myself. It goes a lot deeper than I like to share about myself. Like I'm very open and very transparent, but there are like I go into it a lot more in another thing that I'll cover in a minute. But basically, this is about exposing your secrets to the light and like just kind of being okay with who you are. Zoe at one point actually told me when I was spiraling really hard. I've had a few really bad spirals in my life, and one of them it said basically that maybe part of my issue is that because I always say that I hate this side of me, like I hate it like with a passion. Like it destroys everything. It like wrecks my schedules, which of course, I just wrote my 12-week year like last week and did okay on the first week, and then the second week is literally just all spiral. So like I'm just completely back a week into it, and now I'm gonna spend 11 or 10 more weeks like kind of trying to play catch up. And so I just hate it so much, and like maybe I need to embrace it more, and kind of like pain hurts for a reason, kind of learn from it. But I'm still trying to figure out how, because I don't really like my problem with the spiral is that I can't win about it. So,
I
but
always
anyway,
I always look at it too, with you also being a Gemini, the two parts of you.
yes,
I feel like there is a tipping of the scale all the time, and that middle point is always so much more crucial. And that it's so easy to ride that high of like, hey, I'm so excited
mhm,
to do things, and that ends up being just as toxic sometimes, and that like you load yourself up so much that like the other side of the scale ends up tipping way high because like, hey, I was so overzealous and agreeing to everything. Now I'm really down because how am I going to get all this accomplished? And I'm buried.
yeah, that's
So,
actually the biggest part of the spiral right there. And I wrote about it
yeah,
a little bit in one of these pages. But basically, when I'm manic, I like say yes to everything. I get really excited. I not only do I say yes to it, I like share it publicly. Like I'm going to do this and this and this and this month. Like it's going to be great. And then I make all these like decisions while I'm in a state of being super enthusiastic that I can't possibly live up to. So then I'm behind for a long time, and that's where a lot of the spiral comes in, where I just feel like I'm living up to my past expectations until they're finally done, and then I feel free again and unburdened, and then that manic side, I said panic, and then manic side of me comes back out, and the cycle just repeats itself. And every once in a while, I can avoid that, and I do all right for a few weeks until something emotionally sets me off instead, and then that, like
yeah.
I don't know if it's self sabotage or what, but like it happens. So, what have you got next? What's your next
Let
thing?
me look.
Okay.
I think that was basically it for the work on. I also watched a lot of YouTube videos. There is a zine that I'm not sure I'm looking forward to. We'll see. And in the challenge, it does say that you don't have to do all of them, but it's the last challenge, and I think it's the one that you do in a day. But it's the
Yeah.
doodling one because I don't draw well. I don't doodle well. I don't like nothing like people can draw flowers and stuff and things will look uber cute. Like mine
Mhm.
just looks yikes. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos that kind of never translate to my hand, and I don't know if it you know what I mean. Like your eye is like yeah I can do this, and then your hand is just like nope
Right.
no I can't do that. But I did watch a whole lot of different videos on doodling and drawing and different like Zen doodles and things like that. So that maybe I can feel confident enough to actually put my, hand drawn things out there into a zine. And am looking forward to trying. We'll see how it goes. But
Yeah, we can always like basically like you can fill up a sheet of paper with sketches, and then like you can scan that in, and then you can like kind of cut out the things you want to put in there and like slap them on the page, kind of thing.
that's true. I
So
think
like
part of it is we don't have like a whole like I have gel pens and markers and stuff, but I don't have like sketching pencils and things like that, or like the felt tip pins that like do the outlines well, and
Yeah.
so we just don't have a lot of those things. And I'm sure that even when I had though, if I had them, like they wouldn't be all that great either, but it might help.
You can always try getting a few. Like, it's only the 18th. We have 12 days. That's enough time for, Amazon to get to here in one freaking day, and then we can like quarantine it before, and we'll be totally fine.
That's true. And I think I gave Dad like a kit or drawing kit of some sort, like
That's
at
cool.
some point that he never touched. So maybe I'll see one of the pictures over there.
Sure. I have a few more things that I'll go through here quickly, and then we can get started on the Ludum Praxi stuff.
Okay.
One of the things I did this week was finally sent out keys for things on our Patreon. For those not familiar, our Patreon's main draw is that, like, if you give us money, we give you everything we make. If you give us $3 a month, you're a Zebra Finch Zinster, and
There you
get
go.
all the keys, which is a lot. And then if you're a gaming goose, you get all of our everything as it releases on itch. This month we do every month we do where the gaming geese and then the enlightened egrets, which is our top tier thing, get to vote for which creations we have. We'll send out a number of them, and then they get to vote for which ones to get this month. This month there was a 3-way tie between reversing roles, ninja stealth training, and nice catchphrase. And instead of making a decision ourselves, we were just like, we'll just make all of them out there. That's cool. Yes, Panic Lizard says democracy. So, but that's the Patreon post. All of our Patreon post stuff is free, except for like the polls that only go to certain people, and then like we don't send keys to everybody. But one of those things, reversing roles, if you become a free member of our Patreon, you get that for free too. There's one thing every month that you get for free. I'm not sure if I throw that banner across there too.
And we also were 1 month behind because we forgot about it. To do, like, we will expand upon something as well each month. So we're expanding upon 2 things to make up for that. Beth already worked on one, and then we also have reversing roles is something that we're gonna, either do like a hack of or an expansion of, or do something related to that. So we're thinking about doing another magnet game, so something that you can play on the refrigerator. I'm still pondering that. That's something that's been running through my free time's brain space too, is trying to work out I feel like I do a whole lot of writing in my brain and then planning before I ever sit down to actually do something. So a lot of scrambled up ideas in there.
Totally understandable. And speaking of the one thing I did already, I had made a game, Hyper Game Jam 39, which would have been January of this year. So in January, I made a game called the Winchester Document. Basically, it's a game where you either use a timer or there's a website you can use. It's linked in the PDF. But you basically have to write nonstop for 5 minutes because you've been cursed. Basically, the Winchester house is this famous house where this woman was basically found out that if she ever stopped building on her house, she'd die. So she built more rooms on for decades. And the house just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And one day she stopped building onto it, and then she died. And I don't know how much of that is a true story and how much is made up, but that's the story. And so I made the Winchester Document because the Game Jam's theme was keep moving. So I figured for me, it'd be keep moving either with your pen or with a keyboard. And so the curse says that if you ever stop writing, once you start writing, if you stop writing, you die. And if you survive for the first 5 minutes or whatever, then the next time you write something, it's 7 minutes and then 9 minutes and so on until eventually you'll die. Because
so chain letter of you.
Yeah, exactly. And so the Winchester Document was one of the things I wanted to enter in the queer Halloween thing because it's very Halloweeny. You go in a haunted house, you get this curse, you could die, there's even a haunted house looking thing on the front. So but I made because I was spiraling, I made Winchester Exorcism, where basically it's the same thing. Once you start writing, you have to continue writing. I made it 10 minutes this time, but this is self exploration writing instead. Instead of just writing about whatever you want, you're writing against your demons, the demons that live in you. that are basically like mocking you nonstop to like a whole person, like they say all the horrible things to you, and so like you can defeat them, but they'll come back eventually. I actually wrote a whole page here um, of designer's notes too, and I plan on adding those to that last zine I was just talking about too, because there was a lot I can fit in 8 zine pages that are the size of like one piece of paper folded up. So I just dove into a lot of like feelings about bipolar and being transgender and self-hatred and all that fun stuff. So yeah, there's that. And then the other thing,
Sometimes it's good to get it out in your art. So
yeah, thank you. And the other thing was I put together. There's this free zine week bundle that I'm doing. Um, when I was promoting the RPG Day stuff, I found that there's not a free zine day, and because I always make everything bigger than it should be, it's a free zine week. Actually, more like free zine 10 days because I'm going to run it for. That's because when I promote things, I usually do it on weekends. Like any emails I send through Itch on a Friday are usually extremely successful, and then Saturday and Sunday have dwindling results. So if I can do 2 weekends on it, then that's double the promotion.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that like this week I'm letting people enter, and then next weekend I'm gonna start looking for zine makers and just kind of reach out individually. Like, hey, you know what? Like, we really like this and this zine. Would you be cool with like being part of this bundle and explain it to them and that kind of thing?
I think that I know a couple of people on Instagram we can reach out to as well. So
Okay.
I'll post and see if I can get that going.
If
But
you're,
yeah, we already have a few people
yeah,
have put some things in there. I know we entered like 4, but then we got like double that in other people so far. So that's cool.
yeah, these 3 and this one.
I have, yeah, there's 4 of them that are ours. The I Say Be a Child's there too.
Yeah, I said that. Like these.
Oh, I thought you said 3. Sorry.
These 3 and that one.
Oh, okay.
These are kind of separated on the screen.
Yeah. I had to delete a lot because there was a lot of spam entries, but hopefully we can keep on that and get them out of there. A lot of app game type things they won't keep shoving in there.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm really hoping that like because we had an amazing time with the free RPG Day bundle. That like blew up. Like I would love to replicate that success on literally anything ever in the future of my entire life. Like
well, I've been trying. Yeah.
We put that together. I told Angel about free RPG Day like 2 days before the bundle went out, and she was like, "What if we got other people involved?" And so we reached out to some people, and I had about there were 10 other creators in addition to us.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing as Free Zine Week here, where it's a pay what you want bundle, and if you pay $1 or more, then they get linked to your account. That's just, like that has nothing to do with us. That's how it works. Like if you do a co-op bundle, you have to pay money to link it to your account.
I've been trying to get more zine stores on Itch anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I think zines is a cool like exploration, like way to express yourself rather.
Yeah.
I want to see more people do them, and we'll like. I doubt we'll get it done before this. Maybe we'll do it next week actually for our next stream, where we'll show people how to use our zine templates, and then people.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. So yeah, we'll do that. Next week will be our. We'll show you how to make a zine in Canva, and share our templates with you. But they're really easy to make too. Like honestly, like a lot of my zines take like an hour to make, and that's including like going back through and proofing them, and it includes the like you got to print it to make sure the font's the right size and stuff like that. So it's really not bad. Like if you make a game or something elaborate, like when Angel has to write actual new poetry, like that's a different story. But if it's just like hey, like Games R Us on the screen right there, like this was my story of like going to Toys R Us as a kid. That took me like an hour because like the zine is basically like there's text and there's some images that are on Canva and that's it. And like yeah, I polished it up, but I mean,
hi Panda.
Hey Panda.
Thanks for lurking.
Yeah, lurking while lurking. So yeah, we'll be doing that next week. And I think that's every. Oh, I did have one more thing I wanted to share too. I'm not trying to make a habit out of this, but this is another song I found that I really like. It's called On the Verge, and it's by a band called, I forget the name of their name, Throne. It's just a really, really powerful song lyrically. I never really heard of a like it's a heavy kind of screamy thing, so you think it's like self empowering and stuff, or like angry or whatever, but it's really not. It's basically like I suck the song. Um,
Aw.
yeah, it's so the main lyrics here have got another night feeling down, trying to get by. I can't believe what my life has become, and I can't sleep, can't barely breathe, need to get out to clear my mind under the streetlights. It's all too much. Guess I'll try to walk it off. They say tomorrow's a new day, while I can't effing wait. Always on the verge of giving up. Already given all I've got. It was not enough. I've clearly lost. Because after all I've done, I'm just sleeping in the cup with the pain, or lying awake and hating everything I ever felt that could possibly have a possible impact. And it's just like very like it captures that feeling of like just completely like you're on the verge, just giving up. Just you're done. Like I did everything I could. Like it wasn't enough. Whatever. Good for life. Like that's it. That's all I've got. Like and it captures that really well. But it's also very melodically cool and like it's a powerful song. So I like that one a lot. Um, I've listened to that a bunch lately too. Um, I actually listened to it several times before because like Spotify just throws it in my suggested music, but I never knew what the lyrics were saying exactly.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Marley says, I got the motivation to do my first scene now. I'll be working on it while listening to the stream. So sorry I haven't talked much here. No worries for not talking. That's awesome. Like, we love to hear it. Like, more
yeah,
zines, the merrier.
actually, why we do things like run jams and stuff. Like I started off making stuff because of jams, and still most of what I create is because of a jam in one form or another. And now we kind of run jams to encourage ourselves to do what we wanted to do in the first place. Like I wanted to practice for Ludum Dare, so I ran on Praxi. I wanted to do a free zine day, so there's a free zine day bundle. Like I want to finish something, so I'll do a jam about finishing a game or whatever.
Well, just like you're sharing that song, when people share something personal like that, you don't feel as alone. And like just the same thing
Yeah,
with creations, and that like, hey, that's relatable. I could make something like that, like, oh, they don't expect some amazing, you know, epic thing, or it's just, it's you expressing who you are, and putting something that you don't, think that other people would know, or that you want to share down in words. So it may reach one person and be very important to them. So what anybody has to say is important.
yeah, I totally agree. I think that's really powerful too. And like, I feel like a lot of what we make as creators too comes from what we see in other games, and a lot of those come from these jams. Like, I mean, I didn't know that TTRPGs being things other than like Dungeons and Dragons was even a thing until like the one page RPG jam, and just seeing like what counts as a TTRPG, like like your brain goes, okay, it's a tabletop role playing game, so you've got to be role playing on a tabletop, and it's probably like 3+ people with a dungeon master or something, and like a lot of dice rolling and like a big old story. And it's like actually, like you can roll a die and see if your nap sucked or not. Like, and that's a TTRPG technically, even though it's. I mean, like there have been times where we share on Twitter with like the hashtag of TTRPGs and like, how is this a TTRPG? And people get a little like gatekeepery, but like for the most part, like I mean, if you say it is, it is. Like it's kind of like a self-claimed.
Well, like the same thing with board games. I mean, there's a lot of people that for a very long time, what their idea of board games was Monopoly or Sorry, or those type of games that were very, mainstream and widespread. And those are what people, Battleship, and those are the things that people related to as a board game. And there's nothing wrong with those games, but I mean, there's also when people are like, ugh, I don't like those, they're boring.
Yeah.
They lump them all in with that, and it's like, okay, not everything is Monopoly. There are amazing things that you can check out. So because that one person was like, hey, board games don't have to be Monopoly, or hey, a board game can, be an experience that is closer to a TTRPG like Alice is Missing, or different games like that that kind of really give people a chance to explore something totally different, even educational or just fantasy. Is just really cool. I love people sitting down at a table and experiencing these different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really cool too. Like, especially with like because we do a lot of solo zine or solo journaling runs, but I think anything, especially when you get to two or more people, which we'll get into here in a little bit with the Ludum Praxi stuff, because it's a really cool two-player one. Um,
Oh yeah.
I think that makes it so much more powerful because you have the shared story now, like between the two or more of you that like you
Hmm.
kind of build together. And also when with more than one person, you're kind of also running with each other's ideas instead of just your own. That's what I like about a lot of the solo journaling stuff actually is that like the game kind of sends you in different directions. Like, like even if it's just that like you get a character at the beginning. So like you're playing the same thing against the same prompts, but now you have different motivations or you care about different things than you would have otherwise. And I think it's fun to do that as somebody who's very contradictory to who you are as a person, especially like if you are a very friendly person and you go into a game and you're a thief, like or like kind of exploring like a philosophical thing of like, how do you choose who survives, or like what would you do if you're starving and your family's starving and like you have to steal food, like yeah, it's a really cool way to explore different philosophical issues or
Yes.
things you would never experience in your real life. Hopefully, never experience in your real life. Um,
You had said that about we were talking about different, games and defining, what a game is and gatekeepers and things like that. But
hmm,
I also had brought up about trying to do a refrigerator magnet game, and I had actually seen quite a few articles. I went down a rabbit hole with this about refrigerator games, like refrigerator TTRPGs, and people were saying, "Hey, I really don't see that as a thing. Why not? And it would be cool if I could just
hmm,
take a turn and roll a die, when I pass the refrigerator, and I could play with someone that I live with, and this would be really neat." And I thought it would be kind of cool to utilize the things that are in the refrigerator and do like a journaling RPG. So, like, just make up a story about, like, hey, I left you this, as like kind of like, love through food. And, like, oh, I noticed you didn't get home till late. Here's this. Or, just making up stories about the leftovers or something
that's
that's been
smart.
left in there or, changed or done, you know, leaving something behind and leaving it as part of the, you know, story. So just in exploring that, there's been, kind of out of the norm, trying to out of the box thinking when it comes to what you can do with the refrigerator games too.
Yeah, I think that's really neat too. And like you've made my favorite things, which is a game for those not familiar, where you kind of take toys and stuff and you actually use those as a game. Like you kind of puzzle out which is the favorite toy, like by is this part of it, and then like yes or no. Um, we've done McDival, which is basically like a survival game where you're using objects around the house, kind of like the Facebook games. And so I feel like the next evolution of that would be a fridge game where you're actually using what's in the fridge, or like even if it's like what does your lunch or meal say about you, like what items did you pull out, like what is that? Even if it's something weird like these eggs came from North Dakota, and North Dakota is known for, whatever thing. So, like, that's what happens in the story is something from North Dakota that, is popular there or whatever. And so, like, you're kind of getting down this rabbit hole of weird facts and knowledge and stuff. Um, we've got, don't worry, this is about, it asks about the zine Barbara Lou's making. Don't worry, it's a collection of photos of my cat and some fun facts about her. Just something silly to experiment with the Electric Zine Maker. Electric Zine Maker is awesome, by the way. Um, we've gotten a few on itch with the Electric Zine Maker on it, and they're really nice. It's really cool to just be like play that in the actual browser. Like you don't have to have anybody download anything or whatever. Just literally like here it is. Um, for what it's worth, though, you will have to have some kind of downloadable thing to put it in a jam. Jams don't allow for things without downloads. But even if you just have like the set of images, like in a folder or something, like, or if you can make them in a PDF, depending on what you're using, like that would totally be valid. Um, did you have anything else before we got into the Ludum Praxi stuff?
Oh, when it comes to zines too, if you end up getting on Instagram and kind of searching the different hashtags like zines, zine trades, and things like that, you can actually find people that want to swap zines with you. And I've actually done some trades once we made a few zines and stuff.
Mhm.
They'll trade zines they've made for zines they're interested in that you've made. So we kind of post when we make zines, and then people message us like, "Hey, cool, can we trade zines so I can check yours out?" I've got a zine about, the one that I just linked was about somebody's cat named Mochi, and I did a trade with them, and I got that zine. So it's just kind of fun to be able to do that as well, kind of get some snail mail and meet new people. And it's kind of a
Yeah.
new type of pen pal, just kind of sending each other our zines.
Yeah, and it's not bad. Like once you know what you're doing, like folding it only takes a few minutes, and like mailing it's only like 70 cents something. Like you're basically out
Hmm.
$1 between the paper and the envelope and the stamp and the everything. So like it's really not a huge thing, like and then you get to explore like like somebody's cat or thoughts about something or the top 10 favorite drinks or just literally anything. Like that's kind of the magic of the zine. Like you can make it about absolutely anything at all.
Yeah, and there's a lot about mental health and photography and games and you know, uh, yeah, just the LGBTQ community. I've
Where's
gotten
the
quite a bit.
I can't remember the is it I think this is it. I'm trying to pull it up over there. And I'm in the wrong browser because, of course, I am to share the screen. But here we go. The ZC Mag has this zine idea generator.
We
Um,
love that thing.
yeah, all you have to do is hit generate new zine idea. If you hit up here and you hit options, you can hide mature topics, or like you can just do a reroll. So like you'd save like
Yeah, you can lock the one thing that you like and then re-roll the things that you don't so that you kind of get something that fits a little more.
yeah, like here you'll see that like because I'm changing this one, it always says make a whatever zine that endorses your enemy's persona. So like you can change just one thing. Like if you really want to do something about your enemy's persona, you can just change his other two. And there's like a bunch of different like themes that'll come up with. They include everything. In fact, some of them are so weird that like they actually include. Oh, that's funny. Make a cardboard zine that rates your best friend. So like your best friend and like maybe different like, and you can interpret that however you want. Like maybe you're rating them like as a Dungeons and Dragons character, or like their ability to eat spicy food, or like literally anything. The 8-page format's really cool anyway because you have basically the front cover and the back cover, and then you have like 3 layouts in the middle. So like you can do 6 individual pages, you can do 3 layouts that are like when it's open, you can see both halves of it. Like just whatever you want to do there, and there's just like this kind of helps narrow down what you want to make because there's so many possibilities. There's a link to that too. But yeah, I guess that's it. Um, we can get into Ludum Praxi now when it's not even 10 o'clock. Way to go, us. Before we get started on
And we're prepared.
and we're prepared, yeah, we actually, it's a good thing too. We were going to do this last week, and I even sent an email out to everybody who had joined the jam, like, hey, I'm going to go through these on stream. Like, join us to check them out. And I'll still send one more message to everybody who joined the jam once this is uploaded as a recording, so people can just kind of like look at theirs. Like I don't want to spam people, but like one more just to say here's the video in case you're curious. I think it'd be cool, but like we meant to do it last week. I was gonna start reading them, and the first one I opened up was oh my goodness, whose was it? It was actually this clawing.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah,
that one.
and when I looked at this, I was gonna go through this and read it on stream, and I'm like, okay, this is like 7 pages with like a bunch of illustrations and stuff. It's so
Yeah.
much text. Like Angel's like, yeah, there's no way we can do this on stream. So we pushed it off till this week. But we did both read through everything that was submitted, and we are fully prepared with notes and everything to talk about them this time. We did do it today, and it took us most of the day actually.
Actually, I did a lot of mine yesterday,
Okay.
but I did finish it up today. I think I did about half of it to, yesterday. But I read a lot slower than you, so I needed to set more time aside myself.
You get interrupted a lot more too. Yeah,
Well,
that's
my reading comprehension has never been great, so I have to read over things a couple times to understand it sometimes. Like because my mind loses focus while I'm reading.
yeah. And we didn't actually play any of these. Just FYI, we like. I'm very much a like. I read a game and I kind of like absorb from reading it. Um,
Yeah, there's a few I do want to play. We
yeah,
usually only play at two players though, so we don't have a group so that we can play the ones that are at a higher count. But
yeah, that's true.
yeah, but we've read a lot of games and stuff and kind of get a good gist of what's going on with.
Yeah, we know enough that we can like read it and understand, and we get a lot of ideas from them. In fact, I think a
Oh,
lot of
absolutely.
really cool ideas in them. Before I go into the, or before we go into them, I wanted to share. This is my. It's called a post mortem, is what it's called. About my entry. Their shadows awaken. A post mortem, basically, it started off with the. I believe it started with the IGDA, at least the International Game Developers Association, which is a group of like basically video game developers. All the video game developers can join that. I think it's free, and then sometimes they charge for meetings or whatever. I went to one. It was really cool, actually, back when I made video games. The person who made Defender and Joust was there, and so was the dude who made Mortal Kombat.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and they had this panel basically, and at one point they were they were challenged to like come up with a game idea in like 5 minutes or something, and so then they had to pitch them. And it was like I can't remember the other teams, but the guy who made Mortal Kombat and this guy who made, I think it was the same guy that made Joust, also made a game called Golden Tea Challenge, and their game idea was called Golden Pee Challenge.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was something you played in the men's urinals.
Wow.
Like the most hysterical thing ever, that like these extremely professional people who have been making video games for like 10 to 20 plus years in their life, like became well known for it, were joking around that much. I thought that was just the most hysterical thing ever. The whole place was cracking up. Like that was back when I was in Chicago, GDH, but the IGDA had a website, and on it, a lot of times people would do post-mortems. A post-mortem is basically once a game releases, um, you go over whatever happened during its development. You share what went right and what went wrong during it. Basically, the idea is that not only do you learn from it that way, but also other people do. So I went through and did a post-mortem on this. I try to do one on all of my bigger things, especially the Ludum Dare stuff. Ludum Praxi is basically Ludum Dare practice. Um, but basically, this was a game where there's going to be 9 star charts. Basically, these are maps, and this was a kind of a roguelike game. But instead of a roguelike where you die and you restart, you just die and another you takes over. So like you can't possibly lose, but you can win better. And there's like the full version of it eventually will have achievements and different endings and unlockables and all that stuff. But I didn't do that now. This is only one of the 9 star cards in the game.
I did get to read through your story part of it today. I
Yeah,
didn't get to read through all the prompts, and I love your story writing. You're just really clever and cute. Like
yeah,
you always make me laugh. I
yeah,
like this idea to think that someone was like, hey, I only have like an hour worth of work today, so like in engineering born out of boredom. Like
mm,
it's just really funny to think, hey, just to me too, if someone's so bored and it's like, let me elongate my life, like that kind of made me laugh because it's like, okay, like how can I live more to be more bored? But that kind of cracked me up. But I do like the idea of in your story you talked about them testing a banana and like using all of the energy they'd stored up for a week, like to
yeah.
reverse the aging on a banana, and it's like perfect. That's exactly someone would just take some random rotten banana and be like, I made it fresh, yay,
Yeah. I actually
I
originally
only
wrote.
wasted like a week's worth of energy doing it.
I think I originally wrote like an apple or something, but I was like, bananas are a lot easier to tell if
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
aged. So banana makes more sense.
It does.
I like to refer to myself as a shotgun developer, and we don't have guns or anything for real, but like, that means that basically I throw every idea out there and then hope that something sticks. So This game has like 4 different mini games in it, and then like there are random events and stuff. But we have like a couple of them here.
I actually thought that was really fitting of the theme too, in that like, hey, this person is sitting there on a ship by themselves. Of course, there's a lot of different games. There's a lot of things that they
That's true.
work out to do.
That's a good point. Yeah, and like thematically, you're using this thing they invented called a loot hook. I think that's what I called it. It's been a while, but like basically, it's something just attached to the ship that like grabs stuff and then brings it in the ship.
Beware
But
the
yeah,
pole.
yeah, right. If you're by yourself, like you're gonna come up with anything that'll pass time, and so like, and like it all uses the same deck of cards, and you're adding to that deck of cards as you go through the game. So it makes sense that you would be using deck of cards too, because that's very much like a thing that you do,
Solo
like
card game, yeah.
It's only solo card games. Well, basically, what I wrote in here is that like my goal was that this game would be easy to learn because Ludum Dare games have to be super easily learnable. A lot of Ludum Dare games are playable in your browser, so for a tabletop game to be alongside them, it has to be something that people can pick up very quickly. It has to use very few components, all of which are common because a lot of Ludum Dare people, for reference, to get rated in the Ludum Dare, you have to be rated by 20 other people. And if you need like a custom spinner, or people need to print 100 cards and sleeve them and stuff, like people aren't going to put in that effort. Like it's just going to be like, nope, click away. So like it has to be super easy that people can get into. It requires little or no printing because a lot of people might not even have printers. Like we're very privileged that we have HP Instant Ink and stuff. So we do a lot of printing. We pay for that. It's worth it for us. And then something super replayable. Because to me, like when you make a good Ludum Dare game, there's 2 outcomes that make a game feel memorable to me as a Ludum Dare game. One is that it's a complete package that like has a great beginning, great middle, great end, and that's probably not going to happen for me because I don't finish things in 3 days. So mine has to be very replayable. And I feel like I kind of got that down toward the end. But basically, the premise, like Angel said, is you're on a generation ship. You have 500 years from the beginning of this trip to the end. You're woken up as an engineer halfway through. So there's like 280 years left when you wake up, and people don't live that long. So like then you find out that like if you use the transporter repeatedly, like over and over and over again, very rapidly, it actually de-ages things, like from some standpoint of mathematics or whatever. So like if you can do that to yourself, like you can actually survive these 280 years. But it's going to take a lot of energy, and you basically get that from different things. And this game is called Their Shadows Awaken because it's actually a prequel to Their Shadows Slumber, which is another game I made, where basically your team goes and collects items from sleeping civilizations, is what they call them, where everyone has died, the planet's sleeping, but there are still relics there of their past. So you can collect those and basically like learn from their, like what they've learned. You can find their art, like they can still live on. There are a few lessons here that I learned, like playtesting early. For me, I used to be a very theme-forward person. Like to me, I would get an idea, I would run with the theme of it, and then I'd kind of make the game work around that. And I've found since then that for me, what really works well is just to take stuff and play with it. Like if I just take a deck of cards and I mess with it till something's fun, like that's how I make a game at this point. And then like you can expand on that over time, but like aside from maybe finding an SRD, that's kind of the best way to make a fun game. It's just make what's fun for you. And then
I think that's why you don't end up finishing a game, is because your ideas are really big. Like, yeah. So it's just hard to gauge that when you first start, like how much it's going to expand into something else, like, and keep growing, and kind of getting that wrangled back down to something into a size that you can finish in those 3 days is really difficult to do.
It is, and yeah, 3 days is way longer than you think it is, but also nowhere near as long as you hope it is.
Well, yeah, because you have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to do other things. So, I mean, you're not getting a lot of that time anyway.
Right, yeah. Out of 34 window, you probably have 15 to 20 hours that are actually like good hours, and then you probably have another 15 to 20 that are like okay hours.
Yeah, you're sitting there thinking about it, or, fleshing things out, or playtesting. Those aren't the hours that you're actually working on completing it.
Yeah, because I mean, like if you sleep 8 hours a night, and you like, I should say here, you should sleep 8 hours a night
Yes.
in a game jam that's only 3 days long, because otherwise you will suffer for it.
Yeah, you'll
Um,
burn out and
yeah, exactly. It's not going to turn out well. You're going to be unhappy with it. So it is like, I mean, you're losing one of the 3 days just to sleep.
well, that's one
And
of the reasons we did do the Ludum Proxy as well, is so people can practice and get to do that, and encouraging people that make tabletop things to enter this. That it isn't
yeah,
just for video games.
that
So
was exactly why I did it. Actually, that was where the idea came from. This last Let 'em Dare, I think mine was like 11th place or 20th place or something. It was a top 20 for sure, for originality. And I say my idea, but it was actually both of us that made it. He's the one that came up with the game together, and then wrote like a bunch of text about it. Like it was like a 17-page game with like
oh, the genie
12
one.
different.
I was
Yeah.
thinking of the space one. Okay, yeah,
No, yeah, it was a lot. Like we did a lot for that jam, and it was like top 20 for innovation.
that's
And
awesome.
then the number one game for innovation in all of Let 'em Dare, out of like 2,000 something entries, was a tabletop game too, where you actually like you have circles and like a summoning circle, and you're filling them in. And it was just really cool seeing two tabletop games on top 20 for innovation. Like apparently people do like tabletop games, even in a video game centered world. So I'd love to see more tabletop creators there. And so that was basically where that came from. Um,
And I love that we
so that,
got the 9 other entries in there, because
yeah,
I really love the idea of a jam anyway, for the fact that you get to see several people's take on the same
yeah,
topic, and what they do with it is absolutely from left field to right field. I mean, they're totally different, and it's
yeah,
exciting to see that, like what one person will do with the same thing.
yeah. And it's funny because this theme, your health bar as a weapon, was the theme of the jam, but because I knew what the theme was already, like it would basically be cheating if I did that. So I did a different theme, which was Generation Chip. But all the other 9 entries used the theme of your health bar is a weapon. And that actually came from a Let 'em Dare suggested theme. It didn't win Let 'em Dare, but it was basically during Let 'em Dare, people could suggest whatever themes they want, and that was one of them to suggest it. And I really liked it. So that one won the vote from the people before the jam started, and that was revealed at the beginning. The premise here was that, like Let 'em Dare, people had 72 hours to make something. Uh, but instead of it being like Let 'em Dare, where it's from like 9 p.m. Eastern time until 9 p.m. Eastern time over a 3 day period, it was 3 days from when you looked at the theme. And I gave people like 2 or 2.5 weeks to do it. So like some people might have done it like Monday through Thursday, or Wednesday through Friday, or whatever. Like it was basically whenever you had 72 hours available to work on something, because that's more practicey. But because of that, like when I announced the theme on the page, it was actually all the way at the bottom here, hidden. Like because once you saw that, it was spoiled for you. Your time started. I didn't want to have anybody accidentally start, when they weren't prepared. And yeah, like Angel said, the really cool thing with Let 'em Dare itself, once the jam ends, there are like 3 weeks or something for people to rank and rate each other's games. Um, and there are like over 2,000 entries each time. We do them like 2 or 3 times a year. We have like 2,100 something, 2,200 something each time. And so you're kind of playing each other's. And that means there's like 2,000 people that made a game based on every 10 seconds, or your health bar is a weapon, or, the darkness within, or, whatever the theme happens to be. And it is really cool seeing the difference. You will find some of them are basically identical. But for the most part, like a good theme that has a lot of room to grow and play with. And so, like this selection here, like if you're looking at these, like none of these look the same at all. They're very different from each other. Some of these are like very different as a single page. Like some of these are 10 to 15 pages. The your health bar as a weapon actually comes from Aaron, the librarian, who is in our server, and it's like half a page, like, and it's something that works with any system. Whereas some of these are full games. The Haunted Amusement Park uses Axel K's system, that they made previously, and so it's basically like a continuation of that system. In fact, I've spoken with Axel K. Her name is May over email a little bit, kind of talking about the game and stuff, and just kind of like the streaming and doing all that with it. And I'm sure Angel will say the same in a moment here when I'm done talking. But I've actually become a big fan of some of the creators because of what they made here. Like they've made some really awesome things. So
yeah, like super clever. Like we really enjoyed looking through these, and I enjoyed reading the notes that people have left each other in there as well. Everybody's reading each other's and like, hey, this is cool that you came up with this, and like this is different. Like I really like the interaction that everybody had in this jam.
Yeah, I put down on the jam page, which I read a lot. Like this is everything, the whole thing. But like I put down that like with Ludum Dare, there's a rating system, and so like you're gonna rate each other. And I figured, and then like at the end, there's winners of like first place, second place, third place, whatever, 2000th place out of everything. But I figured with this one not getting many entries, in fact, getting 10 is more than I expected by like 4 or 5 times. You know what I mean? Like I didn't expect to get 10. I expected like 2 or 3, including ours.
Yeah.
And I figure if there's like 3 entries in your third place, you're gonna feel crappy. But it doesn't mean you made a bad game. It just means that maybe the other people made really, really good games. That if 20 people entered, you still would have been third place, and you would have felt a lot better about that.
And some people do end up taking on a bigger concept and then not finishing it. So it ends up being like, okay, do you rate someone for the better concept or the fact that they finished? You know, so there's like really like subjective criteria for some of that voting.
Yeah, like for me, like there's a balance. Like if I played Their Shadows Awaken and I was not me that made it, there'd be a big part of me that was like, well, this is only like a 9th done at most, so I have to take some points off for that. But also, like, you built a good base here, you get good points for that. And it is hard to say if that beats other people.
Right.
So yeah, it was very difficult. I guess let's just dive into these then.
Okay.
We're an hour in. We'll definitely get these done. Like we're not going to stop in the middle of this or anything. But I think we should start with the Haunted Amusement Park because I know Axel K. May said you would be here. And if you are here, May, feel free to say anything you want to about the game while we're talking about it. You feel free to share whatever you'd like. But I shared this paper earlier when I was showing what a zine looks like. Oh, yeah. May's here. Hey, May.
Hello.
I shared this page earlier because like I was showing kind of what a zine, zine's like one page. But this is actually the front page of the 30 Moon system, which is what the Haunted Amusement Park is based on. This was actually a 17-page book kind of thing. We did not print all of them, but I had a glitch with mine. This is not May's fault whatsoever. It's just the nature of computers and stuff, where when I went to download it, the 30 Moon system, it said it was a virus and it wouldn't let me download.
Whereas my computer didn't flag it and I had printed it out fine. And I was like, or I had, downloaded it fine. And so I printed it out for Beth to read.
Yeah, so I have it printed. This is why this is here. But also, May sent me the file separately and it was totally fine. I don't know if, like...
sometimes it's just weird.
Yeah, Microsoft Edge is weird. In fact, when Ludum Dare runs, because those are new files and a lot of them are exe files, they warn you every single time you open one. Like, are you sure you want to run this? It could be a virus. So you have to just accept it. So we're going to be exploring 2 things here with the. I should pull up the Haunted Amusement Park. I have all of the files here.
I have a section here too that talks about the opening description. I can read that real quick if you want.
Go for it. Yeah.
The Haunted Amusement Park was by Axel K. It uses the 30 Moon system. This was inspired by Blades in the Dark and Tales of Equestria. And also it says the opening description here, portals have opened in the Haunted Amusement Park. Monsters are pouring out of the portals and running wild. Princess Luna needs your help. She is trying hard, doing what she can. If you close all the portals, Luna can send the monsters back where they belong. The park was always haunted, but now there are monsters too. Travel around the park and close all the monster portals. But that's the entry part, just to give you an idea of what the game is about. But you go ahead.
I thought it was really interesting because the 30 moon system, I was taking notes on the 30 moon system itself. And out of these, I want to say it's a 17-page document. It actually specifically says somewhere that like the system doesn't really focus on violence. I thought that was really cool because a lot of RPGs are very
Battle based and
yeah. When you think of Dungeons and Dragons, like most of what you think of, unless you've actually played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, is like, you know, this is basically a fighting game. Like, you know, you
is right, the combat. Yeah,
like you get a quest, you go to a dungeon, you fight a lot of things, and then eventually you turn the quest in. You know, maybe there's some traps, but that's basically the game, is you're fighting a lot. And like when I learned about RPGs, that was the mindset I had going into it, and I learned that's totally not the case. And it was funny, out of the 17 pages here, I think there's like a page, maybe two. It even says combat system simple on here, and it's like a page of how the combat system works. And then each of the games that they made kind of works with the system differently, has specific rules, you know, like it's a new game based on the system, basically. And I thought it was really interesting that the Haunted Amusement Park actually has a lot of combat in it. In fact, it's kind of the premise of it is that each player makes 5 monsters of their own, and you get to base them however you want, and they all have like 2 weaknesses to them. So maybe one of them isn't good at, there are, I want to say like 12 different, I always forget the terms, I apologize. I wrote on my notes, hold on. Passions. Okay, so there's like several different passions in the game. You have 2 strong and 1 minor, like 2 major, 1 minor. But they're different things like, I thought actually explosive was an interesting term that was used. Normally when you think of like strength things, so something like running a long race, or just something that takes a long time.
With stamina. Yeah.
And then you have like the quicker things, like opening a shut window, or maybe lifting something very heavy. There's actually a separate thing for that in this, which is called explosive, which I thought was interesting because it's kind of like energy that explodes out of you when you really need it. You know, like it's the mom that like lifts the car off her kid because
right, like the quicker, more passionate like energy rather than something like long term. Yeah, I thought the difference between that was cool.
I was really cool too, and I love that like you kind of get to pick however you want to incorporate those, but that in the haunted amusement park, you kind of, it feels like, I forget the term, there's something with Dungeons and Dragons where they talk about how like you can just kind of like min-max your characters, and you're not really role playing anymore. You're gaming the system. You know, like you're maximizing your skills so that you can be the most useful and the most, you know, epic in a game or whatever. And it's not really role playing then, because nobody'd really be like that. But in this, like, no matter what you do, you're still kind of weak, because all of these monsters that people are making have different weaknesses. And as you battle them, like you roll in these dice to try to take them down with their weaknesses or whatever, that passion is just kind of locked out until you run to the parking lot where it's safe. And in fact, I still have the page over there. You see the parking lot there. The monsters can't get to the parking lot, so you kind of go there to rest. So like if you're really good at remembering things, you're really good at recall, that's what it's called in the game, then maybe you're fighting against the monster and its weakness is recall. And so like you use your recall to beat it, and now you don't have that again until you run to the parking lot. You can only do a certain number of times. So like the next time, maybe you have to use your friendly skill or your endurance skill or focus, or, you know, something different. I think that's really cool that like each of the monsters has different weaknesses, but you can't just use your strength over and over and over again like to defeat them. Oh, thank you for sharing that too. Angel had posted in the chat there where to find it, and that's it. Also, I want to make it clear too that all of these items are free, at least currently. Like people might decide to charge for them at any point in the future, but you can also get them by going to this webpage. It's hio.jam/ludum-praxi. In fact,
And I
you
was
just go
just
to
about to share that.
if you just go to that without the slash entries, you can just click on the entries. But if you type in slash entries, you'll go right to them. But with them being free, you're more than welcome to, for the most part, I think most people probably, I didn't check, will accept tips. So you can just like throw $1 or something if you like what they make. I think a lot of these are really neat. What were your thoughts on the Haunted Amusement Park?
Okay, so this one was, I would say, like the fourth or fifth one I had read, and I don't have a whole lot of experience with a lot of the systems like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. I haven't had a big game group that I could do that. I think I did a Cthulhu game with someone that GM'd for us, and we had a lot of fun with that, but it was our first experience with it, and it's not something that I got to look through the actual book. The GM did that, so we did a character page and we got a little bit of experience of gameplay, but I really didn't see that back end of that. And so sometimes the terminology that people use and the different steps that you take with that aren't all there because they use a system that people readily know that play those things. So they're a supplement for a different system. And so it's not something self-contained. And so I can't sit down and learn, how to actually play this game because it's part of another game. And, that might be cool to do, to sit there with a GM and learn those things, but I can't exactly learn the system and all of that, without hunting for different things. And so that's something that I really liked about this is that, it was really, they took the time to explain it. Like it was a really user-friendly system. It was all there, like so I can learn it and I could actually GM this, and I think I could figure this all out. It made sense to me. So it's one of the first ones in a while that I had sat down and thought, oh, okay, so I don't need anything else. This is self-contained. There are one-page RPGs, like Lasers and Feelings and different things like that. That work out, but they still use some of the like terms that might not be familiar to people. And she took the time to actually explain those terms and go through them. And so I felt like in that way I really liked the experience of reading through that. It was clever, it was a little quirky, I liked the theme. It kind of reminded me of the video game you played with Claptrap in it, but Tiny Tina.
Borderlands, yeah.
Yeah, Borderlands with Tiny Tina, her Wonderland game, like how dorky that TTRPG was. Like I loved like that there's a little bit of that, like, it feels a lot more useful and interesting and not just stuck in a like we're all going to go into a dungeon and loot it, kind of setting.
Yeah.
It's, hey, we're in a haunted amusement park getting monsters and closing portals and playing the game with a carnival game with a crooked person running them, and do we cheat or not. So I really liked a lot of the scenarios that were suggested there, and so I thought this was really clever.
Yeah, I was really I think it's funny, where was it? I just read it somewhere, that the system is basically like silly. Yeah, here we go. As you could probably guess, the 30 Moon system is silly and experimental, and I think every game is different and weird. I think that's very true about wow, I cannot remember anything. The Haunted Amusement Park. Also, there were two lines that I circled in the paper from the 30 Moon system that felt really funny. Your epic moment tokens, these are basically tokens you get for like epic moments. It says, though, this can only be done if the player failing the challenge makes the story more interesting. This cannot be used to punish your friends. They will know and they will not play with you anymore. And then one of the things you can be like, there's a bunch of different characters you can play as that are kind of like pre-made. One of them was animal lover. You love all animals, and I'm quoting this: big and small, stinky and really stinky. And I just that just makes me think of going to like petting zoo, because I swear every petting zoo in the world is so stinky.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Like the goats, especially. Like I don't know why my brain just immediately goes to goats being so smelly, but they really are. Like
Oh, and the
it's
pigs. Well, I live downwind of a pig farm, so I'm a little biased about pigs being the stinkiest of pet animals.
that's right there. And I thought that was really fun here too. It felt very whimsical, the whole thing. I love the idea of going into the amusement park and like like battling these things and dealing with the events and things around the park, but then kind of running away to the parking lot to chill for a minute, like rest up, get your stuff back, maybe remove some wounds, because this game doesn't like this is a cooperative game, but you do win by having fewer wounds than anybody else. So you can help each other out, and you can like, like you're kind of overcoming and winning this game together. But like one of you is going to win the most.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting. That it's kind of like a competitive, collaborative game. Like I thought that was interesting. I wrote down that it's a really whimsical system and game. It feels super magical and just fun, because I feel like there's just a lot of those moments like when I first started making games, people kind of pointed me toward other games that looked like they might have been written by me, because they were very silly. They had a lot of like kind of like silly things written into them, like cutesy, silly, like sparkliness.
Yeah,
And
and
I just feel like including things like that is very cool, especially in an RPG.
I agree. I had written down, I like the theme of monsters invading a haunted amusement park. Like, it's always been haunted, but well, the monsters gotta go, Like, ghosts are fine, but get them monsters out of here. Like, I like the humor of that.
That's awesome. I like that a lot too. I think if you're cool with it, next we'll go through this Clawing Darkness.
Okay. That's
Okay.
actually the one right underneath my notes for the haunted amusement park, so that works out.
Cool. This Clawing Darkness actually comes from the name. My goodness, I'm so
Jay
bad.
Powell?
No, that's Manual. Oh yeah, that's the name. But the username is Manual Monster,
Oh,
and
okay.
Manual Monster actually joined our server fairly recently, so I figured we should go over that one pretty early too.
I do have the description of the game here, too, if you want me to read that real quick.
Yeah.
This
Awesome.
Clawing Darkness is a rules-light tabletop RPG in which daring warriors descend into the complete darkness of monsters' lairs to do battle. Work together with your friends to cover all the angles your adversary might attack from. Play a deadly game of cat and mouse as you trade blows. Once you gain the upper hand, there's only one thing left to do: charge.
Yes, I thought this was incredibly unique. Like, if you want to talk about it first, because we talked first about the last one, so I'm not stealing all your thunder talking about it. Like, you can go ahead.
Okay, let me look over what I said here. I like the storytelling in here first. A lot of times when it comes to TTRPGs, they really want to just put enough to get you started and to spark your imagination. They don't want to do a whole lot of the world building. They don't want to do a whole lot of the storytelling. They just do a little bit of it and then move on. And I really liked that a majority of this was telling the story of it. And the mechanics of it were super fitting of that story. They fit really well. I think that they did a great job of coming up with mechanics that embodied what they were trying to say. They built a mood, like an attention there,
Absolutely.
really well with it. They just even reading through how you play, how the I didn't write the name of it down. I don't think of what they call the terrors. I think is
Yeah, the
what they're
terrors.
called.
You're right. Yep.
How there's different mechanics for different levels of terrors, which they use chess terms like queen and that kind of thing, like bishop, rook. I think those were all pawn, but they use that for different versions of the terrors that you come through. These monsters that you battle. You're sent into these caves, and you really don't have much to defend yourself. It's really tense. I think that playing this would be, would feel that way. You could feel the tension of it. The story was really cool. It really got you into like what the setting was. You're put into a
Mhm.
dark cave. You can't see. You
Mhm.
have to use your senses. There's even a note to the GM that they need to avoid visually describing something, whereas like that's something that's more common in a TTRPG is that they set the scene, they really paint a picture, and they don't want you to do that here. They want you to do the opposite of that. You are kind of really building like what they hear, what they feel, the contextual
Mhm.
clues of the sound around you. And that's all part of the gameplay too, is like, okay, what direction did that sound come from? There's like a measuring thing to kind of show you the vector of the way they attack.
Mhm.
You are your, I guess, player token is what we'd call that, sort of. Um, has like 4 different points of vulnerability. It's like the whole, like half of it is like the back of you, and then
Mhm.
there's your right, left, and front. And you have a shield, and you have like a long range weapon and a short range weapon, and you kind of get to choose like what coverage is happening for those and
Mhm.
where you use it. And you also choose the formation of you and your party on how you're going to cover each other's back, in there. And then the terrors attack you by rushing you, and you have to kind of time the way you're protecting yourself, whether you're going to attack and whether you're going to charge and use some of your more stronger weapons against it and pin it down. Or if you do break your formation, that could mean you're dead. So
Mhm.
just really intriguing altogether. I think this is super cool.
Yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say too. I really liked the way, like, this is very specific. Like, it actually goes through the rules of how to like you basically, the idea is you're going into the caves of these horrors. Like, you basically track down this terror, and you've got to go take it out as a group. But they are extremely powerful. They're extremely fast, and they're extremely resilient. So you walk in and you're this formation of, like, in the rule book there's only 3 people. The red here is the back of them. So the 3 of them are kind of like huddled up together with their backs toward each other to kind of protect each other. And you choose your left side, your right side, your middle, where your weapon is, where your shield is. If you have a two-handed weapon, like just where that two-handed weapon is, because then you're not protected. And then this terror basically, when you're getting close to it, the DM kind of tells you, like, there's like a hint or something, like a quiet breathing or whatever, and then everyone rolls a die. If anyone rolls a 6, you know exactly where the monster is, and you have like just a second to like readjust yourselves. If you get a 5, they'll gesture in a general direction where the monster is. When you get a 4 or less, you have no idea where this thing is, like, until it's too late and it attacks you. So you kind of have this like one moment beforehand if somebody rolled a 5 or 6 to prepare. And then it shows how, like, here's a string. I think it was an 8-inch string you're supposed to use, and it basically zips across you, and then it zips across again. And I think
Right,
it,
and they measure with your pointer finger, or then like part of your
yeah,
thumb, like at one point. So you use different parts of your hand to measure where you're going to attack next or where you're moving it. It's really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. And as it's zipping past you, if you have your weapons or your shield in the right place, like your shield can block it, maybe even stop it. Your weapon might like attack it as it's coming by. The general one here, I think, takes 2 hits, 3, I think, actually 3, before it dies. And Angel said also that you have like two-handed weapons or one-handed weapons. You're actually choosing these before you go in, and then you choose which ones you have equipped in your hands to prepare for it. And then once it does the 3 zips around, it disappears again. It's kind of like it chills out. It studies you again.
And
You
you
get
always have the option to like light a light and they'll run away, but then you actually have to go to another area to track them down.
right, yeah, like you kind of chickened out. Like, especially if one of you dies and you're just down with 2 people or whatever. Like, you can't really cover each other's backs because it'll prioritize too. Like, if you are set up in a way where your backs are exposed, it will target your back so it can kill you easier. Like, your whole back has 1 armor, and then all of your front sides have a one armor.
Right, and then those stronger weapons are actually two-handed weapons, so you can't carry your shield when you use that
Right.
two-handed weapon. Yeah, all the like different choices that you have to make for such a limited thing. Just this was really cool.
Yeah, I wrote down basically that it was like I don't like horror games, but this one, like even just reading it, it was very, very like
I
intense
agree.
and like yeah, I love that. I like
It felt more like suspense. I mean, it is horror, and I mean, yeah, you're all getting kind of torn up, but the suspense like intrigues me more than the horror of it does.
yeah, and at the end there's even like different versions of the terrors you can fight, like and different rules for them. And then also even like how you can write a whole like campaign around taking care of them. Like they're kind of surrounding this like town or whatever, and you're having to find the
Yeah, and
key.
where to seed them.
Mm-hmm. That was really cool. Um, it still amazes me that somebody made it in 72 hours. Honestly, all of these amaze me that somebody made it 72
Oh,
hours.
I agree. They're so long. Like everybody did a whole lot of work in those
Yeah,
72 hours.
yeah, I did not show it off, but the haunted amusement park like full thing here is 9 pages long. Like this is a 9 page thing, and there's a lot of specifics about like these munificence blessings are generalized in the system itself, but there are specifics here. There's example endings. There's like different monsters, and there's different like things you're going to encounter inside. But this is a full fledged like Angel said, you could take this thing and you could run it as an adventure, like a one shot basically with your friends. Like you could very easily like let's get 5 people together and let's just play this. You know what I mean? Like this is a
Yeah, and
thing.
you can work this out yourself, like rather than having to know. Because like yes, I read that system, but that was also not super long, and you're not having to know a whole bunch beforehand.
Yeah, and the this Clawing Darkness is 3 to 5 players plus a DM, GM, whatever you want to call
GM, yeah.
it. But there are rules inside for how to do it without one. And I could very easily see like Angel and I each taking control of like 2 people. Like and then like we'd be 4 of us exploring this thing as 2 players, not needing another person. I think that's cool. Did you have a next one you want to do next?
Um, Let me see. The health bar. Let's do that one.
The Help Bar. Okay.
I
Yeah,
really love the humor of this one.
I do too. This is something that like while I'm jealous of the home amusement park because of the like the vibe it had, like the whimsy and stuff. Like it's just fun to read. It looks like it'd be really fun to play, and I'm really jealous of this last one, the Terrors one, because it's just such an amazing system. Like
Yeah,
it's like
that system's epic.
a tabletop game. Like it could be like put out as a printable thing, and like you could publish that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but like the Health Bar, I think does a really good job of capturing like especially in queer circles and stuff, like the community of like the safe space, um, and like just kind of like this fun art, and like it's another one that's like basically a tabletop game that you can play right now. Like it has actually at the back here there's a map you can play this on, and then there are actual like cutouts you can make these like into like a grid, like
I have
a die or whatever, or just like flat things that would be like on the board.
Yeah, a lot of good art in it. I have the opening description and stuff if you want me to read that. This was by Robert from Valhellians, which I really like that screen name, like the creator name, and it also was mentioned by Double Free, so I think maybe 2 people made it. The opening description for the game says, "Who'd have thunk it? After all these years of living on the frayed edge of society, you've finally found a place where you belong. The Health Bar, a quiet smoothie bar on the outskirts of the outskirts, boasting a less than ideal location between the underworld Coliseum and the Dust Bowl. It became a home away from home for a group of ne'er-do-well gladiators. That's you lot. Long ago, you all entered as strangers, lonely prize fighters looking for a place to lick your wounds. Over time, you watched each other, fought against and alongside each other, but you always came back here, a little place of calm in a wilderness of chaos. Now the Peace Watchers want to eradicate the Dust Bowl and the Colosseum. They're coming to burn you out and shut the health bar down, but that's not going to happen. Not now that you've got something worth fighting for. Not while you are still drawing breath. Your health bar is more than a health bar. It's a home away from home.
Yeah.
And I love that they, literally the health bar and it's a smoothie bar. I think that,
Yeah.
just taking that literal thing was pretty cute too.
Oh, that was really fun too. Um, I really love the like, yeah, like, I don't know. There's something about like Life is Strange 3, this game here, like, it's just like they create this like sense of like cozy, friendly community that like needs to be fought for in a
Hmm.
way that like it just comes across so naturally. Um, I really love that, and it's something that I really want to be able to do myself. Sorry, I'm also trying to like figure out how to like kick somebody out of the chat here. At the same time,
Oh no, what happened?
someone posted about like promoting our channel or whatever. Like, I couldn't care less
Um,
about
I can
people.
take care of that while you do.
Okay, cool. Um, so what I had read about this was, and pardon me for chewing on this. I really liked that this was very fully contained. Like the rules for how the enemies work, the rules for how many enemies there are. It felt very. I've only really played something like Gloomhaven or like Final Fantasy Tactics as far as this kind of game is concerned, where you have like, there are enemies, there are people. You're taking turns, you're fighting each other, trying to knock each other out, or destroy each other, whatever. But each of you gets to be a specific class, which attacks in a certain way, and a species, which determines like a special ability. Yeah, you can use once per wave, and there's 3 waves per game. And then between them, you get a smoothie because it's the health bar. You get special smoothies. Um,
I
I thought this was
deleted the comment. I don't know, like,
okay.
do
That's
you want me to
uh,
ban them too?
no, it's fine. Whatever.
Okay.
Um, I think it's really neat that like, yeah, it's very like specific, and I also really loved. I actually wrote this line out on my text. Because you're being attacked by peace watchers. Basically, the premise of this is that you are all in this gladiatorial place, kind of fighting against them with each other, and then they decided to tear the place down, and they're going to destroy this place along with it. And these peace watchers are coming in, storming this place from either this entrance or this entrance. Um, and it says here, remember, peace watchers are insecure little meanie butts who can't do anything good with their lives. Judgments about you while you're just trying to live. Just kind of going with the idea that like they have very basic like attack systems. Like they'll target the person who's closest, and if there's 2 people equally close, they'll attack the person with the lowest health because, quote, they are weak cowards. I love that. I think that's funny.
Yeah, I love that this one was pretty easy to understand too, and kind of self-contained. That you can pick this up and play it. It's got the map all drawn out for you. Like it tells you how to put things and where to move them. I think one of my favorite things on it is that you also get a smoothie like at each round that gives you a boost. And to me, it's like, hey, what bar is worth fighting for if you didn't get free smoothies? So it's just like
Yeah,
that,
like,
really on point with themes.
That's your reward for protecting it. Like you get free
Yeah.
smoothies, at least like on this day. Like in the future, you gotta pay for them, but today they're free. Special different abilities to them. I thought this was really neat too. I thought this was really clever. I thought it was really cute. I thought that like it was literally your health bar. The health bar itself is more than a health bar. But also you can sacrifice hit points to roll extra dice when you're battling and stuff. So like you can use your health for other things. I think that covers it for me though.
Me too.
This was a much shorter one. It's only a 6-page thing, and again, I'm saying only, but like that doesn't mean it's not a big thing that someone still managed to do in 3 days. Like
yeah, like all these drawings and that art and like.
Yeah.
When totally, we do one, we use Canva art. Like we don't do the art on this.
No, yeah. And yeah, you can very easily just print like page 4 and 5, and then maybe print page 6 like 2 times if you have 3 to 4 players, and then you're set up. Like it's gonna take you maybe like 20 minutes to read these instructions and know how to play it, and then you're done. Like you can play this game. Like I think that was one of my main goals for one of their creations. Is it's very easy to learn. It doesn't require much. Like this doesn't need a deck of cards or anything. You do need a D6. Maybe 1 per player would be easier, but like just 1 D6 is enough to play the whole thing. So it's really cool.
Joe Ryan says it's not a health bar, it's a health home. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I also wanted to say that May here said, I love this Clawing Darkness. I got my friends to play with me, and it was hard. Good hard. We had a lot of fun. I definitely thought it looked very hard. Like, like it's the kind of game where there's a lot of cooperative games in the tabletop world where, like, when you play them, you maybe have like a 30 to 40% chance of winning. Like, so you're supposed to lose more than you win. And I felt like that, definitely felt like that. Like, where.
Yeah, it just feels like you have such limited resources. And I didn't really see anything where you kind of heal or get other things. So,
yeah, like you're there and that's it. Like, and I
right.
understand too that, like, even if you just get lucky a few times, the thing will die. And it might be that, like, only one of you survived, but it's dead. Like, that's a huge win for the town, even if you then get to go back and tell people's families.
Yeah. I still feel like that would just be such a tense game.
Yeah. I also wanted to share too that May had shared. Thanks for running the jam. I'm looking forward to your future jams. And I didn't comment on that in the chat, but I want to say thanks because especially while I'm in the middle of a spiral here, like it's good to know that, like, the things we do kind of help and inspire people. Like, that's always been one of my main goals anyway. Is like I've always been inspired by other people to make things, and I always want to inspire others to make things too. And so, like, it means a lot to me. Thank you for saying that.
Let's do the librarians next. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you the next thing, so that's cool. This is it was literally called "Your Health Bar is a Weapon?" Question mark, exclamation point. The librarian here is Aaron, who is Mr. Them in our Discord server. If you're in our Discord server.
First, can you bring up? Sorry. Yeah. Can you bring up the page, like, for Your Health Bar is a Weapon?
Yeah, I haven't even looked at most of these pages, but Angel did point out earlier too that, like, a lot of people do comment here. One of the things I said about this jam was that hopefully people would comment on each other's stuff because we're not rating, but it's still cool to comment. And a lot of people did actually comment on each other's stuff, and I think that's so cool. Like, I really appreciate everybody that took the time to comment on each other's stuff.
Aaron wrote a note for us, so I was going to read that.
Oh yeah, that's cool. So on the jam page, yeah, I see it.
Yeah. It said, I wanted to leave a thing for Beth and Angel to read on stream. Hi, girls. Hi, everybody watching. I'm YouTube famous now. Don't judge me too harshly on this work. As I mentioned, it was made in about 15 minutes, half asleep at 7 a.m. the day after it was announced. But the basic idea was, in a sleepy, half-drunk sounding voice, when is a health bar more than a health bar? Gasp, when it's a weapon! Hilarity ensues. So yeah, maybe not my best work. Might even be my dumbest idea. But knowing folks resonated and immediately had ideas from it and that vibed with the silly nature, I take pride in that. Have fun with my little half-baked oddity. Lots of love.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Like, I launched this jam, and like within the first 24 hours, like, Your Health Bar's weapon was entered.
Yes. That was after I think we booted a couple of spam entries, and then it was like, yay, an actual entry.
First. If anybody ever runs a jam, for one, it's really easy. Like, if you ever want to do a jam, like, just make one. That's fine. Like, you just click in here. Oops, that's the wrong thing. You just click in here, and you click host game jam, and it takes you, like, like, you gotta make a little image for the jam, like this thing here, and you gotta write the text, and that's it. Like, you're done. Like, there's nothing to stop you from making a jam. But if you do, you're getting a lot of people just dumping their stuff in. So make it to where, like, there's at least something that people have to pass, that where they actually made it for this thing, and they're not just dumping their stuff and running away. Like, we had a bunch of, like, this is a specifically analog game, make it within the window. People would dump video games that had nothing to do with, like, analog tabletop stuff at all right away. Like, no way they made it in the time frame. So, yeah.
Oh, by the way, that notification was an entry into our latest jam for the zine. Yeah. Awesome. And Barbo actually made the kitty zine already.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Hey, way to go. I saw it shared on I forgot that I did see that it was shared on the Discord server. I just clicked over the clip and saw that it was, like, a thing that was made in the Zinester section. But it's awesome.
I'll have to check that out later, but it's called All Silly Manchitas.
Yeah, I said I would look at it. It was a really cute cat. I already in the name of it. The health bar is weapon now. I'll pull the document up for that again.
And then I have on here, this is a supplement to be used in a TTRPG of your choice. Your health bar is a weapon. Morph it as you will, and pay no mind to that slowly dwindling life force. Kick some enemy butt.
I'm hoping that searching this isn't going to pull anything bad up, so I apologize if it does.
Well, you can unshare your screen for a minute.
But yeah, there's this, I forgot what game it is, but there's one of them where, yeah, I'm not finding it super good. But basically, there's a fighting game like Marvel versus Capcom or something, and one of like they all have super moves and stuff. Actually, here I think this is what it looks like. One of the super moves is the Deadpool actually grabs the health bar itself and just like slams it into the opponent.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, like I've seen that a couple of times before, and this is basically the tabletop version of that. Like, is all I could think as I was reading this. But
yeah.
Aaron actually has some specifics about it works, and I think it's really cool.
My comments on this were that it reminded me of Saturday morning cartoons, where the character just broke protocol and grabbed whatever was around and pay no mind to the ridiculousness of it. This is what's happening, go with it, you know. So I really like that idea.
I like that too. And like, but yeah, I think this is a very Aaron creation. Aaron's super, and I forget the word for this every single time, and I hate myself for it. But there's a specific word that means like someone
prolific.
Who creates prolific. Thank you. Yeah.
I know you've used that word before.
Yeah, he's a very prolific creator, and like we'll release something like every week or like 2 things a week or something, and like sometimes it's even like collections of multiple games in one. But I think this is really cool. This is very fitting of Aaron's like
collection and personality. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I like
exactly. It's very on theme, on vibe for him. Basically, yeah, it's just like that you discover that you have a health bar and that you can touch it. So you can even grab it and you can use it as a weapon. You can yank down your health bar and convert it into a weapon. Be careful though, it's still your health bar, so using it will hurt as long as you hit. If you don't hit anything, like you don't take any damage. But basically there's rules here for you can make it into a ranged weapon where you're shooting 1 point of hit points into ammo. Or you can balloon animal it into a close range weapon like a sword or a club or an axe. For those of you who play things like Dungeons and Dragons where those things matter more, like if you're fighting a skeleton, a club's going to do a lot more damage than a sword would. Being able to use your health bar and turn it into whatever you want can actually be really helpful, even if it hurts you. Or you can convert it into a magic item and cast spells with it. But like, yeah, I mean, this right here is the entirety of the thing, and like, this is just as valid as something that somebody wrote 20 pages on. I mean, like for Their Shadows Awaken, I wrote like 14 pages, and I made a zine to go with it. There's a booklet that's like 8 pages, and like the star chart, like it was like 20 something pages altogether. And this is equally like, as valid as that was, like, because it's still a thing that like, you can just take this and run with it in any other creation. And like, I think that's awesome. I really love though that sorry, I'm messaging Angel and I just like misspelled okie dokie. I think that'd be something easy to spell. But I just love how easy it is to take a theme and just kind of get inspired by it and just make something. Like I actually have, and I'm gonna share it here too, just because why not? It's under my tabletop game dev, my game idea generator. If I have this sheet here, that like if I just like if you hit the way Google Docs works, Google Sheets here, if you backspace on something or you change anything in any way, so I think enter does it too. Enter doesn't because you're not changing anything. But I go like period enter, like see the things here will change. But the same thing happens if you have backspace, because it's like you're deleting a space, even if there's nothing in it. You're still changing the sheet. I have one of these for just let them there. The idea being that like you would just type in whatever the primary theme is here, and so this can kind of give you ideas what to do. But when it's not let them there time, you can use it with. I have all the different old like let them there themes and stuff in here, or things that were recommended. So like like a farming game or a dream game or ancient game or whatever, and like it's so cool to just like take that one word or the little phrase, or whatever, and you just get an idea and you run with it. I think that like in our server, well, and I'll share that banner again because why not? Like let's use the heck out of this thing. In our Discord server, we have where you can share your ideas, like we mentioned that earlier. Like anybody can open just a little thing on there. In fact, I wonder if I can just share that. No, I can't. It was not without completely taking away, and then you'll see my face really big. I don't want to do that. So, but basically, there's little like forum channels. Basically, you can create them for your own ideas, and there are a lot of times where I'll just create one, just like, hey, you know what? This is a neat idea. Maybe I'll come back to this later, and so then you can find it later. Because Angel and I have our own section, and then there's a section for everybody else. And I think that's a really cool way to kind of like preserve ideas for later.
Yeah, it's really nice to just have a place to set them.
Um,
And it's kind of accountability too. Like when you put it in for other people to see that like, hey, I really want to make this. And people comment like, hey, what's up with this? Or I'd love to see that. You can kind of see the hype for it and like, oh, okay, I will make this quicker than I thought.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things to me too, is just that like you can kind of get an idea of how many people are interested or how interested they are. Like, you know, yeah, that sounds fun. Or like, oh, wow, this sounds amazing. I need this in my life right now. There are even times where somebody will like make one and it'll inspire somebody else, and so they'll make an idea based on that idea, and like you get this chain effect of like creating things. Some of my ideas are from that actually. So some of my ideas are from those actually, like where somebody else made something, and then I'm like, yeah, I'll come up with an idea too.
Oh yeah, I think that kind of bounces back and forth in there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then you kind of feed on each other's ideas and stuff. How do you feel about Photog next? I think that was actually like, if I had to pick one favorite from this whole jam, I think that's my favorite.
I agree. I was kind of saving it for a little bit later because of that, but yeah, we can do it now. Like, but yeah, that was so stinking clever, and not enough games use photography or like even that topic. So, and that is something that the creator also said. That came out of not enough games being centered around that.
Yeah, I can't remember where. So there we go. Yeah, note from Derek. Thank you for downloading Photog and for supporting physical games on itch. It was created in 72 hours from the Ludum Praxi jam. This is what Beth and Angel make games. Inspired by the theme, your health bar is more than a health bar, and a discussion about the lack of camera mechanics in RPGs. And yeah, I think that's actually, there are 3 reasons why this one's my favorite. And it is, again, this is not saying anything about the quality of the other ones, because they're all great things here. Like, I'm blown away that, like, if I were to rate all of these on a system of like first place to 10th place, I think my creation that I poured myself into for those 3 days is probably like 7th place. Out of those 10. And no, it's fine. Like, it's not a problem. Like,
well, yeah, and I'm excited for you to finish that one because it's cool. But I think it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. And the 3 reasons I like this one the most is, like, number 1, photography. I just think it's really cool to have a photography system in a game. 2 is just how realistic it is. The premise of this is that you are.
I actually have that.
Go ahead. Go for it.
I have the opening thingy on there too. This is by Derek Hawk. Photog is a single-player TTRPG with a resource management element. You play as a photojournalist and travel through a war zone, dealing with random encounters with your camera as your only resource. Can you document the war and make it out safely? And I think using the camera as the resource, kind of as your health bar, is like so cool. Like, that's a really neat idea, in that it's a dwindling resource, and so it is like a dwindling life bar. Like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think the 3rd reason is that you draw the photos.
Right, like, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I'm not a good drawer, but I feel like because you also roll for like, clarity of like, the picture, like focus and things like that. It would be kind of fitting that you didn't draw it really great if it was like a little bit of a lower quality photo anyway.
I was thinking that too, like if your framing is really low, then like, like the main thing isn't the center of the photo, or like you barely
right.
And like, yeah, at the back of here, it was actually a photo album thing here, which is funny because like you have 12 glasses to start with. In fact, they're right here. These are your trackers for your photos. And there are only 10 on a sheet because there are a lot of reasons throughout the game why you would actually lose flashes that wouldn't actually be photographs. And then also you could just print this page more than once. Well, it's really clever because you're supposed to be kind of like a war photographer, like you're in the middle of a war zone. That's totally not a safe place. And these are the cards here. You don't use dice. Actually, you do. You use dice for the photos, but use heads and tails to determine whether like good or bad things happen, basically, or like bad or worse things happen on the card. And some of these even like where's one? There we go. This one. A squad of soldiers patrolling this area inspects your equipment. One suggests your camera may be an explosive device and threatens to destroy it. You can either grab your camera and run. When this says add when flip, what that means is you've been injured. So like when you do a heads or tails, you actually flip it. Like say just once, now you're doing best of 3 out of 5, or best out of 2 out of 3, and then 3 out of 5, and then 4 out of 7, and so on. So like, while that doesn't make your odds any worse, like you're not, taking the first negative you flip, it still feels like pouring more energy into it because like now you're having to do like flip a coin like 5 times or whatever, like, which is a lot more effort, which is what the point of this is. It's taking you more effort to do something. But if you don't grab your camera and run and take that damage, you flip a head on the coin, you get your camera back, but it's damaged. So one of your photos is reduced by 2 points. If you flip a tails though, you're too suspicious and the game is over. Like you lose, end game, you're done. These soldiers thought that you had a bomb. Are you imprisoned forever? Are you shot and killed? Like maybe your camera's just destroyed, and so it's hopeless for you. Like because the point of the game is to earn 100 points. You still have to prove yourself as a photographer, and like get enough quality out of your photos to earn a living. Basically, like you're doing this to survive. Like this is still capitalism. So, like if you're not a good enough photographer, you don't have enough money to eat. So. Mm-hmm. You could come out of this and survive. You have horrible stories to tell, but like, what does it matter? Like you don't live. Like it doesn't matter. It sucks to be you. It was really interesting that like there are places here you can put your luck. Like some of them here are like like if you flip heads here, you make it across. You flip a tail, you just lose 1 flash because your camera got wet. So it messed up one of your photos, basically, like your ability to take 1 photo. So not a big deal. But some of them you just automatically lose, and some of them you don't even have a choice of like pushing your luck or not. You literally just you could lose or not. Like some of them here are like the point of the flash is that you can use it for other things too. So like you might distract somebody with it. You might like get through a dark space with it. You might even take a photo of something that doesn't matter. Like this local artist is offering you a safe path if you promise to take a picture of the street art so the world can see it before it's destroyed in bombings. Aww. So you spend when your flashes like you've taken a photo of this, but it gives you no points. Or maybe it does and you don't get any bonuses out of it. And that's like basically up to you. Like, like it's up to you to draw whatever you want that, street art to be. Maybe it was just a message of peace. Maybe it was a big like F you to all the people doing war. Or maybe it's the names of people that died or whatever. Like it could be anything. And so that's entirely up to you. I love that there's enough to go on here to like feel like a thing, but also enough room to play with that you can do whatever you want with it. Like I love that it's like the one with the terrors, I always forget the name of it. The Clawing Darkness, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
You still have that like very thematic, very you feel in the middle of this war zone, like playing this game. Like
I thought the same thing in comparison, like with that one, that this did a good job of that ambiance and sense of urgency to get through the war zone and to use things very intelligently. I mean, like how much do you use a flash to distract somebody and how much do you actually get some photos out? So there's just a good balance between the two decisions and that heads and tails of like some luck in getting through there too. I had seen a TTRPG the other day called Shutter Speed, and they had actually used a camera for that, and it was what got me thinking about that whole thing of like camera mechanics not being used very often. In Shutter Speed, they had where you're ghost hunting. And so the GM actually has like a stuffed animal or something. And when someone says they see something, the GM actually waves that thing around. And whoever actually got like a clear shot of it instead of it being blurry, like would have the more points for it. So there's like a physicality to that. And where they used an actual camera for it, I really like that Derek kept this a tabletop thing. That there are encounters and that it's drawn rather than using a camera for it. I think that the way that that was done was really clever. I'm not a great drawer, but like I said, I don't think that would really matter because it's just a little small area to be making your photos anyway. So it's something that I feel we will play. I think that that's really interesting.
Yeah, I definitely want to play like because this is a solo game and because like like it's not a like the rules are straightforward and stuff. Like a lot of these we can't really play because like we are only two people. But I think honestly maybe like 3 or 4 of them we can play at tops.
Yeah, because a lot of them are like 4 or 5 players. I think what I put on here was what I like the most about this is that it really does a good job of creating that sense of urgency and limited resources, the desire to get that good shot, but not always getting them because it's too chaotic an environment to do so. And I think that that's kind of the vibe that it had created in reading it. And I think that would continue in playing through it. Like those cards have a really good variety of scenarios in them.
I totally agree. I would love to actually reach out to Derek who made this and just ask if we could make like
like an expansion deck.
Yeah, exactly. But like as a journalist, so like maybe you're a journalist like going along with a photographer.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So like one of you is drawing your photographs and one of you is journaling about what's happening. And so like then you have both of the people working together. In the same thing. So you'd use the same cards, maybe just add some extras. You know what I mean? Like so then you'd have like an expansion deck and stuff. In fact, I'm gonna write that down because I'm never gonna rewatch this video of us doing this. So I'm gonna write that down so I'll forget. Reach out to Derek Wright to ask if we can make an expansion about a journalist being alongside the photographer. So yeah, that sounds cool. I would love to do that. We were talking earlier about expanding games, and I think that's one of the coolest things about the RPG world too, is that for the most part, and it's never worth asking, it's
never not worth asking.
Yeah, never not worth asking.
Never not.
Just reach out to somebody if they make something that you like, and just be like, hey, are you cool with me making something based on this? And like more often than not, you'll hear back like, yeah, absolutely, that sounds amazing. You should totally do that. I would love to like even link to your stuff when it's done. Like it's a very like close knit group of people, and so like it's kind of an honor to be like, hey, you like this enough that you want to make something by it. Like that's amazing. Like heck yeah, do it. Like that sounds great.
That's why we ended up with a whole collection in our itch account with the I went to games.
Yeah,
like because I went to Japan and then everybody in our circle like hacked it, so we've gotten several. We did like 3 of them ourselves, and then there's been several since. We talked about the latest one in the last stream. So
yeah,
it's really fun seeing what everybody does with the same premise and the same SRD or the same, just tagline or theme.
Yeah, and if you slightly like mess with the system, like like if we made a journaling one, and so instead of like like we wouldn't have flashes then for our health. Maybe we'd have mood, or we'd have a pencil that's slowly wearing down over time, or I don't know, something, like, but if we just adjusted the way that the system worked a little bit, like maybe Derek could be like, oh, hey, that's cool. Like, let me try that. And I'm going to like take what you did, but I'm also going to adjust that a little bit more to make it work for this thing. And so like, you're kind of all building on the system in addition to just copying, and copying is just as viable, it's just as valid, but like you kind of do make things grow or change for yourself. Even if it's just like, how about instead of 6 prompts with a D6, I do 13 because of the deck of cards, or something like that. Like even just small changes like that can really make a difference. But
yeah, I like when people hack things, but they actually like either like you did with the the Shopkeeper Saga, where you combined a couple of different
Mhm.
SODs and made it your own thing because you
Yeah.
combined those. So I like taking a few different mechanics or not using exactly the system, but it's inspired by it, rather than just being like, okay, I'm just going to reskin this thing. Like, I'm just going to fill in my little part of it and, done.
Mhm.
Like, so sometimes that is a very valid thing to do, and it ends up being really cool and it's a totally different thing. But I also like seeing what people add to something, like to make it their own. So I think that there was a couple things. It's been so long since I played it, but I think I added a couple things to the I went to that when I went through the Stargate once. I think I did like a solo part of it, and I did a couple of different things that I didn't really see in the original system.
Hmm. That's cool. Um, May here says, I am working on a mouse router module. Someone who made a thing I liked. I just asked if he would want to make something together, and he said yes. Reaching out is a good way to make friends. Yeah, I
Awesome.
think that's cute, and it's actually one of the things that I liked about this jam. And especially seeing that like a lot of people were commenting. I know May here actually, Axel K, was one of those people who did that. Like I think Axel K actually commented on everything,
Hmm.
and actually several people did. But I always think that's one of the neat things about jams, especially smaller ones like this, because you can get through them all. It's not overwhelming. Like it's not like when the one page RPG jam comes out, some of the games will probably get a lot of comments, and a lot of them probably won't because people will click on the ones that like seem the most interesting to them, and then we'll comment on the ones they really like, and then we'll kind of ignore other ones. And when it's a smaller group like this, it's really easy to just go through and comment on everything. And I just think this is a neat way to like meet new people and follow new people, so you can see what they make in the future or like get updates of what they do. Like like now that we follow Axel K, like the next time that she puts out like another game based on that system or whatever, like we'll get an email about it. You can check it out. So I think that's really neat. Um, what about Malignancy next? That's a big one. I think that's actually
Okay.
the biggest one. Um, this was probably the one that blew me away the most that somebody made it in 72 hours because it is 26 pages long
Yeah, that
and
was a
has a
big one.
and it's a character sheet. Um,
I have an opening description here, real quick,
go for it.
make that a little easier. This is by Khan, I think is the name, Guler.
That's
If
how
I
I guessed it.
pronounced that wrong, my bad.
Hmm.
It says the world has been ravaged by a parasitic organism from outer space. All living things, human, animal, tree, mineral, etc., are all infected by the organism dubbed the malignancy. Thankfully, each organism within each living being is as at varying stages of consciousness and power. All beings will heal at a faster rate than normal. Some even use the parasite's gift to perform supernatural and often grotesque feats. The more one taps into this power, however, the more awakened the malignancy within them becomes. Give the creature too much control over your body, and you risk having it fully take over. You will become one of the hive. I really thought this premise was eerie and like just really interesting. It's another one of those that's kind of really border horror, and it still seems like enough that it wasn't that I was interested in it.
Yeah,
I really
I
like the
was.
story building here too. There was a lot of story here and a lot of good world building.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. That was actually one of my favorite things about this was that like so we have the first page and we have like kind of an introduction, and then there's what like 3 or 4 pages, one, two, yeah, 2 pages. Okay, of like basically setting a scene. It felt like a lot more than two because it's
Yeah,
actually set really, really well.
a lot of people rely on the GM for that and like the knowledge of other systems. I really
Mhm.
appreciate the examples, the in-world stats, and the offerings that were listed. I know that it
Mhm.
seems like there was notes where there was plans of doing a little bit more of that too, but they just
Yeah,
ran out of time. But they already had like a lot of different things that were just personalized to that TTRPG, so I thought that was interesting.
yeah. Like this right here says, game jam note. I intended to add more character customization, including backgrounds, talents, and more malignant powers. For the purpose of the 72-hour game jam, I need to keep things reined in, or I won't finish in time. And I'm really glad they did because like this is a very full thing. Like this is
Yeah.
a solid system. But basically, it there are these malignant aliens that kind of attacked our planet. Depending on your setting, like it could be, like high fantasy, it could be futuristic, it could be whatever. And when they attacked, people kind of retreated underground. And then after a while, kind of like Fallout. It reminded me a lot of Fallout actually for a minute there, where basically they come out of these underground things, and the malignant things are still alive. Like they come right after them. But one of the groups had studied them and understand how to keep them at bay. So it's kind of like the original, or not the original, like the Walking Dead TV show, where the zombie apocalypse, like plague or whatever, is in everybody all the time. Like there's no escaping it, there's no curing it.
Everybody's just in your blood. It's just
yeah, like in the Walking Dead, like when you die, you become a zombie because, like, even if you weren't bitten by a zombie, because that's in your system. Like, so you could die of a flu and you turn into a zombie. And so yeah, this is the same way. Everybody has this malignancy in them, and it boosts your ability to heal yourself. It might give you some special abilities or whatever, but those things come at a cost, because every time you lean into them, you're kind of giving yourself into this malignancy a little bit. And if you do that too much, which is where your health bar is more than health bar comes into play, you get taken over and you become one of the hive. You're lost. Like you've lost yourself to it. It's taking you over. Like game over for you. You make another character, so you're not like out of the game, but that character is dead. And if somebody dies or something dies, I think it's within 24 hours they come back to life as a malignant, unless you burn the body. So it's the same thing like The Walking Dead. Like unless you stab something in the brain, like they come back to life. So you're really having to like even when you're fighting monsters and stuff.
It's so funny that you brought up The Walking Dead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you had asked in the Discord, you had asked something about what is kind of out of character. And that's the only thing that I thought of was like me being a fan of The Walking Dead was kind of out of character because we don't like horror, we don't like zombie stories, and we really got hooked on The Walking Dead. So that was the only thing I could think of that was really like out of character for me.
Yes. Yeah, I'd ask, we do a journaling, we have a journaling channel, and I try to put at least one thing in there a day. But my question was, what's something you enjoy that feels very off-brand for you? And so that was Angel's off-brand. I actually included the Alan Wake games, because I'm not a horror fan either, but the Remedy's just so good. That was part of my answer. In fact, streaming itself was one of the things, because I hate being the center of attention with a passion, to the point where if somebody's looking at me a lot, I'll be like, could you not? But that's basically what streaming is. But I don't know. For some reason, it just feels okay.
It's a good disconnect, and like you still have your chat that you're comfortable with, so you still spend time over there.
And who isn't conscious if they do what, Ryan?
When it comes to the malignancy, I think like.
Oh yeah, I think basically it's one of those like once you've lost yourself to the malignancy, like you're just gone. Like your mind is gone. Like you don't exist anymore. But like it's taken over your body, so it controls you.
The only thing else that I had noted about that was that I felt like this was a ton to get into a 3-day jam. Like this, surprised me the amount of work that was in there. And that my favorite part of this world was that you have to strike the balance between using your new abilities without surrendering or being overtaken by them. It's a tempting yet horrific quandary is what I'd written. Like it's kind of interesting to think, oh, okay, I have this really cool power, but do I really want to use it and become, a shell of myself that's just a husk for something else?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was really neat too. But I've seen that in a couple. Pardon me. I've seen that in a couple of other systems too, where maybe it's you giving into darkness, or you're giving into something. Like something is battling within you, and you're fighting a losing war. But I like when even like the corruption in the Lord of the Rings, where like the ring is, or what I really liked about the card game actually was that it wasn't just the ring that could corrupt you; it was literally anything. Like if you found a cool sword, that might be your downfall because it corrupted you. Like literally anything, any treasure, any equipment, anything could corrupt you. And I think that this is that same system where like you mess around too long, you just like you're too much, you're lost. But at the same time, like that can heal you. So like you don't even take damage normally. You basically kind of like regress along this like your character sheet, like you gain malignancy and you have a malignancy threshold. So like if this number is ever hit, you're lost. But like if somebody stabs you in the arm, you don't have to worry about like your arm being weak or anything because you just healed. You're fine, whatever, who cares? But in doing so, you are becoming more malignant. So that was really neat. And yeah, there's rules for like everything here, like there's range rules. Even like if you want to like knock somebody out but not kill them, if it's not a non-lethal weapon, like you get a penalty to it. Like there's everything's covered in here. Like,
Yeah, it's very thorough.
Mm-hmm. And then yeah, there is a character sheet too. So like allows you to write everything down. You get one malignant power, I think, for every like 3 or 5 points in I think it's the control here. The control basically is how much you can control your malignancy. So like the more you have of it, the more you can tap into it safely. And also the more power you get out of it. And these kind of like like your magical powers that like might make you able to control someone's mind, or make you much stronger, or whatever you might need in the moment. You only have a certain number of them. So it's not like you can tap into any of them. You just have like 1 or 2.
Do you want to do Buried Within next?
I'm going to say next because it's only 1 page.
Okay.
That works for me. Yeah, there's only 3 left here. Stave is 24 pages long.
We can do that one next.
5, and then Buried Within is only 1. It's a 1-page game. And I didn't even realize it until I saw Angel's notes, but it's actually a hack of lasers and feelings. Oh, it even says it right there.
Yeah, right on the corner. This is by Sam Bell. The SRD, Lasers and Feelings, was by John Harper. The opening description of the game says, Buried Within is a rules-light gothic horror fantasy tabletop role-playing game for 1 to 6 players and a game master. Players inhabit the roles of supernatural beings who navigate the world under the guise of being human, but each harbor a dark secret they must feed to survive. What I had put on here is that we don't usually have a play group, so a lot of the things that we do are solo or 2-player, like we've said before. So I've also never been a game master, but I feel like because Lasers and Feelings is pretty self-contained and like it's interesting, kind of the simpleness of it. It could be something I could see introducing us to doing the GM thing. So it says it can be played with like 1 to 6 players in a game master. So one of us could be the player and the other one could set up things as the game master. We could both get practice doing that. So I liked it for that specifically. It's going to be as simple or complicated as you want to make it, basically. So I think it's something that we'd be able to do pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's really wild because one of the most central things, in fact, the one thing I think of with Lasers and Feelings is that it's a 1-page thing, and your traits are lasers and feelings. Like that's why it's called Lasers and Feelings, because those are your traits. And so, like like you have a 6-sided die, and like your lasers is 1 stat, and if I remember correctly, the feelings kind of ends up the opposite. So like if you have a 6 in lasers, no, it's not. It's separate. But like if you have like a 6 in lasers, that means you can roll a 6 or less and succeed. If you have a 3 in feelings, you have to roll a 3 or more to succeed. So like like a high one in one of them and a low one in the other is actually perfect, because the productivity, and you'll never be that way. It'll probably be like a 3-4 or something, so like half a chance of failure. This one though, while you have 2 halves to you, you have your monster side or creature side, and your human side. There are still multiple stats here. Like you have different personality traits that can. I love this part though. It says 1 should apply to your bestial state, 1 to your human state, and 1 to both. So like maybe my human, like like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde would be. Dr. Jekyll would be like maybe intelligence or science would be the thing, and then Mr. Hyde's personality trait would just be like strength. like brute strength or whatever. And then the thing you'd share together would be maybe like control. Like, both of them have some ability to control not changing when, they're in their state or something. But basically, there's that. And then also, depending on your traits, you roll different dice, numbers of dice when you do things. And if you succeed enough times at something, then you've succeeded at it. But I love that if one or two of your dice are successful, no, where was it? Here we go. On a failure, elaborate how your alternative persona may have negatively contributed. If you roll exactly your health on more than one die, these are still failures. Describe how your two personas clash, leading to a positive twist. So, like, if we're going with the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing again, or let's go with we've got werewolf and we've got doctor as the first option. So you're Dr. Werewolf, MD, right? And so your doctor side is very like healing, very caring, and your werewolf side is very like aggressive, very like self-centered, like just wants to feed. And
Right.
so like, you're trying to shove somebody out of the way, right? Like just push someone out of the way, and you fail at it, but you roll your health twice. So you have to explain how your personas clash, leading to a positive twist. Maybe you push them aside, but not quite enough. So like they or like you don't do it carefully, so they fall over, right? They fall on the ground, which is negative because they've gotten hurt from it. But because of that, you are able to patch up their wounds because you're a doctor. Like you're really good at healing people. So yeah, you injured them, but now they're fine. Like whatever, like no harm, no foul. Like they're
right.
Who cares? So like it's just a really interesting storytelling thing in like I
Yeah, I
like
like
when
that
games
mechanic.
push you to like make an interesting story. And actually that
Well, and
leads
even to make a interesting like moral social dilemma type thing, like
Mhm.
because you are struggling with the beast inside you, but you also need their powers at some point. So, just having that balance. A lot of people kind of went with that in this jam, in that like you're kind of struggling with
That's
inner
true.
demons.
That is a good point. You're right. There's a lot of that.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Like that wasn't even the theme. It was like about a health bar. So that's
Right, but
really
a lot of
interesting.
people are struggling to hold on to their humanity, or like dealing with
Yeah.
that. Like there, 3 or 4 of them were like that. So
Mhm. I like too that I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I just like the
sorry, I didn't
similar
mean to
thing.
interrupt you.
Oh no, you're fine. But no, I like that. I like that. Like you said too, that it's like 1 to 6 players of a game master, so we could play this.
Hmm.
Um, I know I'd probably be really nervous to be the game master, but I could also be just equally nervous as being the player. So, like because we haven't really done
Yeah,
these
that's what
things
I was
before.
saying. We could take turns. Like we could
Yeah,
both set it up,
okay.
or we could even like do that together and like learning how to set up the world like that way.
That's
So
true. I also think that the interesting storytelling nature of it leads into stave really well. So we can do stave next.
okay,
Stave is 24 pages, and there's a character sheet here too, but it also includes reminders here of how everything works in the game. So it's 2 pages with a reminder sheet.
this is by Kirby Hunt. Stave as a general concept began as a hack for Ben Milton's Knave. So I like the kind of keeping with it and they called it Stave instead of Knave.
Yeah.
The opening description for the game says, in Stave, players are mages brought from across the multiverse by the Esoteric Entertainment Corporation to compete in their Big Brother-esque reality show. I really love the premise of this right off. It like
Yeah.
hooked me, and I'm like, that's funny. That's
Yes, I totally agree.
and anything with a mage in it anyway, I'm always happy with. But then they'll be all like reality TV show, or just like
Mhm.
really silly. Do you mind if I like
No,
say
go
some of
for
my thoughts on it? Okay.
it.
I think the premise of this is really fun. What I liked about it was the spells at the end. There's you roll a
Mhm.
D100, and there's a list of like nouns, verbs, and adjectives. So I think it's really fun how they combine those in different things. Your main thing is make, unmake, and remake. And so you use those nouns and verbs and adjectives to do those things, to make a spell, to unmake a spell, to remake a spell. And like just by changing the adjective or the verb or the noun, you're changing around the spell itself too. And yeah, you roll a d100 to find those out. That mechanic is like the main thing for the spell casting in this, and that's super cool. I like that. There's also like a audience voting mechanic in this, and basically there's a set of questions that you go through and you're asked, and depending on whether you answer yes or no, you get points for that. And then the person with the least points is demoted to the production assistant. And the production assistants don't get to be voted for anymore. They don't get a chance to win prizes. They don't get a chance to win. But they do, however, get to attack you in the game. So
Yeah.
they still get to like work against you. So I really like the idea of like, hey, you know, you've got these spiteful people hanging around that can't win. But then in the end, they also do get a chance to come back to the show at the very last minute, which is a total, you know, twist that happens on every reality TV show, that that person that got voted out is going to get their revenge by coming back. So like the production assistant with the most points from attacking people after having gotten voted out gets to come back in, and then the other production assistants, I think, are the ones that vote like
Yeah.
for who wins. So that's all really just very on brand with like reality TV, and I think they did a really good job of that whole thematically uh, presentation with it. Like they morph the two different, you know, ideas really well.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, as I read that season finale part about the like highest scoring PA coming back, and then everyone else gets to like vote for who wins. I thought that was really. I remember you talking about Survivor, like how much you liked that at the end, where like the people that got voted off the island
Right.
get to come back and like they decide the winner.
But it's a brilliant way to keep people engaged too. You know, like
Mhm.
once they get voted out, it's like, who cares? You know, I don't get a chance to win, so this sucks. But like because they are like a different role now, they still get to be engaged in the game in a different way, and it feels more sabotagey, and like they get
Yeah.
to have a little bit of control of who's going to get interned next, you know, or assistanted next. I can imagine it changes the tone of the play. The more people that get voted out, so
Mhm.
you're really getting attacked more by them, and you know, disgruntled and the production assistants. So it's just kind of a brilliant little thing there.
Yeah, and I really like too that the game rewards you in the most unique ways. Like the your health bar is more than a health bar actually comes into play in that every week, just like in most competition shows, there's somebody with immunity, and the person who gets immunity each week is actually the person with the fewest hit points left, or you know, like hit points. They call them a different thing in the game.
Yeah.
But so like you actually want to like while you're fighting and stuff, you actually want to be injured a lot. In fact, of those questions that Angel was talking about, one of the questions is, did you take damage this episode? So if you went without like taking a scratch at all, like you
That's
don't
a
get to say
point
yes to that.
against you, right?
Right, exactly. I also love that some of the questions are things like, did you and another mage get into a petty argument? Did you either flirt
Yes.
with or break up with another mage or NPC? Did you make a confession? Did you solve a problem without fighting? Did you brag about your accomplishments? Did you deal damage to another mage? And the 12th one's even, did you berate the PA or the host? Or
I could
APA
just
or the host?
I
Like,
could just
yeah.
see like this being kept secret until the first vote, and then people hear those questions and be like, "Oh, I'm really supposed to be really like reality
Mhm.
showing this up, like, and I'm failing. Like, the next vote, they're not getting me, you know." And everybody then is like flirting with people and like
Yeah.
arguing and causing all kinds of chaos. So I could just like picture that when you're playing, like the theme and just the tone changing in these different ways of, and that's, you know, what happens in a reality show too. Like they throw in those twists and it's all like, oh, game
Yeah.
on, you know, or they make them eat bugs, or they have a physical challenge. So to have those questions and then having them voted off, it's all like, oh, you know, like now I know this is going down and what they're expecting.
Yeah,
That
I'm
would be
trying to.
fun to expand on if they change the questions every episode, like so you
I
never
was
really knew.
yeah,
That would
kind of
be
like
really funny.
kind of Mario Party.
Yeah, so you didn't know what points you were going for, just that there was some kind of chaos you're supposed to be, causing.
Yeah. So you're trying to like do a little bit of everything. Because yeah, like some of the other questions too were like three of the questions were about like did you use this type of spell or that type of spell or the third type of spell. Like Angel said, there's the make, unmake, and remake. I thought that was a really clever way to not only does that cover the types of spell, it covers the skills that go with it. So like unmake is aggressive stuff. So like fist fighting or like throwing things, anything to do with strength. Remake is like your creative arts, and make is your like your building, your knowledge, your so like just those three different schools of magic also cover everything in the game. I thought those really clever. And also I had made a note too about the same thing about the spells. Like yeah, like when you make a new spell, it's literally just like one of the make spells is make noun verb, and so like it's the word make and then one of the 100 nouns and one of the 100 verbs. And so in their examples, it's like um, unmake noun and then potentially with noun could be like unmake axe or unmake skin with acid. Like so it's just like, and then you basically explain how it works. So like there's a lot of room to go with that. Even something like unmake axe, maybe you consider anything curved to be an axe, right? Or anything with a blade is an axe if you can convince people hard enough. So like you can unmake any weapon if you are convincing enough. Or like there's we make ugly to handsome, and so maybe like if you're trying to make someone look worse, maybe handsome to you in that moment is somebody who has like massively receding hairline or like like yellow eyes or just anything. It could be anything, and so like it's just up to you basically how you want to play that, and then the GM has to allow it or whatever. But I feel like especially in the setting of like reality show, like they'd be a lot more willing to let anything go as long as it's entertaining. That's kind of the whole point of this, is that it's entertaining.
Right.
If you're not trying to overthrow some evil overlord or
You're gonna pull
free
that
some
gladiator quote. Are you not entertained?
yeah, exactly. Like that's what this is about. Like there's no grand quest. You're just trying to entertain people. Like you're trying to make a name for yourself. Like you want to be the next. I cannot remember the name of that guy that like we both don't like. Who was in like several of the things. He's like the something. I can't remember his name though.
The Miz. As soon as
Miz.
you said the something, I'm like the Miz. Yeah.
You want to be the next Miz or whatever. Like you're not trying to.
I just
Like
remember him back from Real World and like just awful and oh. And so to actually see that he became a wrestler, like his dream, it's like, well, great, but I don't know. It's just really,
that's how I feel about Jake Paul. Like he got into boxing and everyone was
to
like,
the
I hope everyone
MMA.
yeah, I hope everyone just destroys him as soon as he gets in the ring, and then he actually becomes like a serious fighter. And it's like, are
It's
you
like, how
serious?
are you a great fighter? This is so weird. Like
Yeah,
the
like
world
this
is,
is not allowed. You're supposed
yeah,
to just get absolutely destroyed and give up on this
yeah,
and
because
cry
he
and go
was
home. And like,
such of a troll of a dude. He kind of reminded me. My cousin constantly like practiced wrestling moves on me. I think that's why I have an attitude towards them, is because he reminded me of my annoying cousin.
yeah.
But my cousin would constantly be like, figure four and headlock and like throw me across the room into the couch and like
Oh my goodness.
body slam, and just like because I was several years younger and much smaller, he'd throw me around like a rag doll. And so, like, that's kind of the vibe I got from the Miz when the way he treated his housemates and stuff. And so then when I saw he was an actual wrestler, I was just like, ew.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think that's funny. Like I could see why they would be against him for that. Have a good day or good night, Ryan, whatever it is there. It's like super night time here, but yeah, night. Okay, have a good night. But
One
yeah,
last one.
one last one here, and it is out of hell. Out of sorry,
Out
out
of
of
hell.
hell. Out of hell.
Yeah, this is by Weapons of Peace. And the description was, I was playing with the idea of a 2-player competitive TTRPG where you take on the shared role of an angel fighting its way back out of hell. Very Doom-like, some roguelike elements.
Yeah, I thought this was really clever. I don't think this is done. There's
I
no
agree.
specific statement saying that it's not done.
But there's
Um,
no, I couldn't find like a winner, like parameter, like a win, like thing.
yeah,
Like I had
and
that word before, but
it does say on the page that they intended to have a few possible scenarios based on how much corruption it seeped into the angel for an ending, but there wasn't enough time. So I'm not sure if like that led into that, but also like I saw where one of the comments had pointed out that like the accuracy. I'm assuming that's what ACC here stands for. The accuracy wasn't fully explained and stuff like that, but I think that's a given for something like a jam like this where you have 3 days. I always get really paranoid that like I'm just going to have completely forgotten about, explaining a whole thing, or like, like, oops, I accidentally put my file up and page 3 is missing somehow, and now this makes no sense, or just something like that. So like, that is not something I hold against this game at all. And in fact, I wrote in my comments that Weapons of Peace here had written, very Doom like, and I almost heard the like Doom soundtrack kind of thing blaring in my head. Um, where was there was actually somewhere that they actually wrote something that was very Doom esque anyway. Um, I can't remember it now. But I put in my notes? Sorry. I did not. Dang it! Of course I didn't, because I thought I'd remember it and I didn't. But yeah, there's a few lines in here that are just very like Doom esque. Um, but the premise of it in general is also really cool. That basically, like, this is a 2-player cooperative but competitive um, TTRPG game.
which
Where
is this is another one I could see us playing because of that. Like when it's finished.
Yeah, because you basically, what happens is one of you is the angel, and then one of you is the whisper, is what the other role is called. And
Yeah,
you cheat, and then over time, the angel is tempted by the whisper, which I didn't really see exactly how that worked either. Like the
there's a health bar, but it is a corrupted one. Like so, at the top, those circles, like they get darker as they go along. Like,
Yeah,
and that's a corruption. Like, so I thought that was really interesting.
I just thought like once you like lost your health, like you die and you like have to start over again. But yeah,
Um,
it could just be that they switch places then.
yeah, it's kind of a wearing down. And it did say that like as they were corrupted, that it actually is supposed to affect the ability to use your powers. Like you can't use them as well. So there's that was something that was explained that as they went along and they were corrupted, it weakens the angel, and so that's why there's more of a temptation to switch.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I think this really neat. Actually, I think this is the line that I was thinking of earlier at the end of the Angel Sheets intro paragraph. It says, "The angel will fight to escape or die trying. God help any who stand in its way." I just feel like Doom has this like energy down like so well of like you're this one person and like you're just absolutely surrounded in like the worst place that you can possibly be, and like all you have is yourself, and like you
No,
know
I'm all thinking is Wreck It Ralph.
yeah, exactly.
I love my mama.
Yeah, exactly like that. But like the super epic badass version of it instead of like the funny version of it.
Right.
But yeah, I love that, and I think that this lays out how it works really well too. Like basically, you as the Whisperer are kind of laying out the dungeon. Like you're laying out the different layers of hell, um, and you get like your danger level will go up as you go on. You have different like treasures and rewards that you're putting in the level for the angel, and like kind of tempting them not only to switch but also to like, hey, you know what, there's a shotgun over there, you should totally go get it, whatever. And even things like chain sword like as a weapon just felt very like like the chainsaw like weapon that you had in the newer Doom games, where you had like the animations of like finishing off things like really epic, like throughout this whole thing. I was really neat though. It's that like it's very open to interpretation and like very at the same time very like you're this, you're this, you're gonna swap in between. And it might even be a game thing where like, maybe the angel would be tempted to swap kind of early, so that way they maybe will come back toward the end of it, and, like and then the angel and then again. Oh, it was also that.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out too, like if you've been messing with them so much and you are weakened, like does that get a refresh when you switch, or like, at the very top of the whisper sheet it says, manage the danger level, but be weary though hell never becomes less dangerous. So it's kind of like, hey, don't weaken them so much that when you switch, like you have nothing left to work with.
Yeah. I also would love if somebody would like do the art for this. Just the description of the angel itself is really epic. It says, the angel has seen better days as it awakens from battle in the pits of hell. 1 week is wounded with the corruption of a soul that clings to the angel, hoping to potentially escape with it while providing some meager help. It can no longer fly. So basically, I'm just imagining this like very holy, very like, like epic looking angel, like wielding a weapon, but like, like flying through the air with one wing while the other wing is like dripping with like black corruption or whatever. That's
right.
Like quote unquote helping it, like. But also, like, what happens if the angel gets out? Like, would that corruption go through heaven then? Like,
yeah, it makes you wonder.
With this, like, is the only way to win like to lose? Like to be trapped in hell forever? Like, is that the real end game of this? Like, like it's just really interesting to see that, like, and to have that much room to play with in the game itself.
Something that I had written was, we recently got, and I'm pulling that up as I'm dropping things. We recently got Astronomical from Travis C. Hill, and it is a zine where it's a 2-player thing, but you get 2 different zines. So you're kind of given 2 different scenarios, and so I don't think the other person really knows what's going on in your book, and you don't know what's going on there. We haven't played it yet, but it's something where you kind of have separate things going on in playing the game together. And I thought that would be really fitting here if it was expanded upon, and that if you actually made this into 2 different zines, where the angel gets one and the whisper gets the other, and there's a very secretive thing going on, like you really don't know the other, like, whereas right now that's kind of laid out in a way that you do have your own page, but it could really be expanded upon in a big way. So there would be like a world setting type thing, but each person would get to read what it means to be their character, and you're kind of going into that blind, like you really don't know that the whisperer is actually not on your side, and that they want to corrupt you enough that they're switching places with you. Like you don't know that until it happens, and then you finally have a little bit of that knowledge when you're switching with other people, and like you can actually find out a little bit more about the character when you have the book, as you go along.
Cool, yeah.
Like that would have been a kind of cool thing to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like that a lot. He mentioned that about, and I forget the name of this thing every single time. I'm trying to find it now. There's this game. It was actually one of the first zines I ever saw. But basically, you are a photographer. You're trying to track down a cryptid, and you actually have like coins in your pocket that you use to play it. I bought a physical version of it, and it's somewhere. Maybe I printed it. I don't remember. But you basically are like you're taking photographs when you go outside, and then as you pull a coin out of your pocket, either this photograph is proving or disproving that the cryptid exists, and so you have to kind of explain why. Like if there's tracks on the ground by a car, maybe those are just random tracks, or maybe they're proof that this cryptid exists. And if you at the end of the game have enough proof that the cryptid exists, then like you've discovered it. Like you're tracking it. You found it's near you or whatever. And if you didn't, then like oh well, that wasn't it. Like Oh well, you tried. And I thought that was a really neat thing too with the photography, as far as like actually using photographs themselves in a game.
Hmm. I think I remember that one, that zine. Like that was one of the first zines we had seen, and you really liked.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, I feel like this Out of Hell is super super intriguing, and I would like to see a little bit more of what it becomes
Yeah,
because I
that's like
feel like yeah, like a bigger expansion of it would be really epic.
yeah, I agree. Like I'd really need to see like it in a more complete form to know how I feel about that. But I do like it. I do think it's very cool.
There is a little bit of terminology in the way things are written. I think that like I'd have to figure out like here it is a little bit more RPG-er than things I've messed with, but I'm sure I can figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. Some of this stuff was a little over my head too, like breaking armor class and things like that. Like
Yeah,
AC.
like the little like shotgun and rifle and flamethrower, like the like pictures of it, like with the range. Like I didn't know what the A was on there. Like all target in. Like
I
okay.
think the A is like where you are, like the angel.
Oh,
And
okay, I got you.
so like the flamethrower hits four targets straight from you.
All right, that makes sense. Whereas the shotgun would be one in front and then three. Like okay.
Yeah, like so it's kind of like spreading out. But yeah, I think that's just really cool too. And I love kind of like dungeon building things where like one player takes on the role of actually building the layout of where you are.
Mhm.
Like you said, you don't want to weaken the angel too much because otherwise, like when you take over, you'll be weak. But at the same time, you want to at least get them convinced to swap with you. And so I think that's interesting too. That like you're having to play with that, like in between.
Right. I think we got through everything.
We did it all.
Yay. These were really clever. I think the themes that everybody picked, and like even though there was a couple of common like vibes in some of them, they really covered things in a very different way, different setting, different theme, and like all these submissions were really cool. I am very impressed with the amount of work they get done in 3 days. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime anybody runs a jam where like you can't just enter things you've already made, like it's already like asking a lot of people to make something. Like even if it that you have like a day or a month or whatever, like it's really awesome that the people took like a 72-hour window out of like their life and just managed to make something like any of these. Like it's really
Right. Well, I think that that gives an excuse to people sometimes too. Like they haven't created in a while and they want to, and like having that like restriction of okay, I have to get this done and it has to be in 3 days, like really helps them focus on something they really wanted to do. So I like
that's
that.
I love that too. That's actually why I like going on there so much because it's like it kind of makes for a very special weekend of like, hey, like this weekend we're gonna like have really easy to make dinners and we're gonna find some cool snacks and we're gonna get some nice beverages to feel special and like we'll go for a walk after the theme is announced so we can
Right.
talk about it and stuff like that. So
Like yeah, it's nice to have that like um not routine, but
yeah, like breaking a routine. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like
Making something special.
ritual of it. Like that's what I mean, but like not ritual, but
Yeah, exactly. I always think that's really neat about like most anything really. Like even just doing this streaming show now, like kind of Thursdays are a little more special now because there's this going on or whatever.
yeah.
So
I think since it got so late, we'll skip the whole like BGA part of it.
yeah, that's how I feel too. I'm actually really tired. I'm assuming we're allowed to talk about things like this on the stream, but like because I was spiraling, I feel actually quite a bit better right now. I don't know how I'll feel tomorrow, but I filled this with some root beer and some adult beverage to kind of like get myself to calm down a little bit and be able to do this stream tonight. And I'm definitely feeling that now a little bit. So, like, yeah, I think that the taking off, and we've been watching Your Honor. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
You're watching Your Honor with I want to call
Brian
him.
Cranston.
Thank you. I was like, I know it's not John Krasinski, but like, it's what I keep wanting to say.
Because
We
of the
just,
K, I was doing that the other day.
yeah, you're at Cranston. But we just got started with season 2, and I'm like really interested to see what happens. So we can go watch some of that and take off from there. So thank you for joining us, everybody, and it's definitely been nice having you here. Hopefully, you get to check out some cool games that are totally free over in that jam. Let me share the link for that one more time. I just closed it. We covered it. Here we go. There you go. That's it there. We'll be running another. Thank you for saying so. And thank you for sticking around with us so long. It's been like almost 3 hours. So that's awesome. It was great
Yeah,
having
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for making it too. Honestly, also thank you for emailing me because if you hadn't emailed me, I probably would have canceled today. I had been spiraling and I did not really feel like doing anything. And I feel like a lot of times the only way to really get out of it is to kind of push myself a little bit. Once I get started doing something, I'm fine. But that like initial like I don't want to do this like kind of overwhelms you. So I appreciate that little like. And I know you specifically said like I totally didn't have to do this or anything. Like it's not like you're saying I had to. Just saying like like this excuse to do this was very helpful. So, and thank you for joining. We will be starting another jam sometime soon. I wanted to do a jam that goes alongside the one-page RPG jam. I don't know what it was though. I have it. I have notes of it somewhere. Um,
We could talk about it in the Discord if you remember.
Yeah. If you're curious at all, totally join the Discord server. Here is the link for that. I have to change this. Oh, there we go. We're good. That'll be easier to copy paste than the banner thing. Yeah, the more welcome to join the server. I do have plans for. I'm going to try to do one jam a month, not including this like bundle jam like I'm doing right now. Just because that kind of helps me and Angel, I think, to like give us an excuse to create something. Because if we run a jam and we don't enter it, like that's a really bad precedent we're setting. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. Well, that and checking out other people's stuff. Like it helps us to kind of expand our horizons by having us check out things in our jams.
Yeah, and when we do them, we'll also like share what people made for it and like on the screen again, like this too. Granted, if they're bigger things or we get more entries, we'll probably won't do all of them, or we'll like kind of rapid fire go through them rather than
right, just little points
on each one. But like, I think it's really cool to kind of point out the cool things that we find, and so. Normally we do like a little portion of the show where like these are the cool things we found this week, but this was basically the cool stuff we found this week.
Right, because we spent a lot of time like reading through them and checking them out. So
yeah, most of my week was actually just scrolling through memes and like doom scrolling. So like this was basically the majority of what I checked out this week. So yeah, we're gonna take off. Have a great night, everybody.
Yes,
or
have a good night.
Time or whatever happens to you there. We'll see you next week where we will show people how to make zines with our templates and hopefully get involved in like minis in July in time before it ends or our jam or like bundle that or whatever.
Yes.